Hello, loveys. How are we? She's back for a, I don't know what, a 2.0 of my morning calamity stream. I'm going to tell you guys this, okay? Trying to do this live is not for the weak of heart. Okay. It is also not for someone who has issues with technology and or is not broadband adjacent. I have clutched my pearls and clenched my butt one too many times. And there's nothing left to do here but figure it out. And I am today going to say this, and I mean it deeply from the bottom of my soul. If the gods of the Ethernet do not allow this to go as planned, we might need to pack it up. Okay. I've gotten an extender from, I went to the Best Buy, got some sort of router that is extending something, had them send a refresh signal, and it potentially is the two teenage daughters I have that continue to just, take all of the internet and Mr. Nurse Kim. So, you've got to stop it somewhere. You've got to say enough is enough. So we're going to do this together and pray, okay? In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Today was a day. I have feelings, okay? I've been known to eat the feelings. Yes, all of it. It's happening. And I am so glad you're here. Oh, look at, yes, we're praying. Brunel says, let us pray. Oh, Brunel, I'm so sorry you were here earlier. Oh, for all of you who have come back, I owe you one, okay? Now, I did want to let us know that this is how I felt this morning, just living on a prayer before we get started, because this is how all of us felt. We said, oh, it's happening. And this is the best depiction in my brain.
All right, great job on the news.
Thank you.
We will, Courtney and I will share what happened when we went to dinner last night, Sunday dinner coming up. And as
that was me. That was me. Woo. Okay. So there was 9,644 people streaming today. And at some point, babes, I thought to myself, maybe there's too many people streaming it. And that's not how the World Wide Web works. So if that's what you think, Kim, then maybe you shouldn't be on the World Wide Web, because as many people as they want to stream it can stream it. Had nothing to do with it. Still battling a desktop. Anywho, I appreciate you. Yep. The petty paralegal, my sister, she knows. So let me tell you what I got it from this as I rage drove to numerous locations to find some equipment and potentially someone who could give me a better Ethernet cable. No, it wasn't. It was Nuttal, Timothy Nuttal. Oh, loveys. I teleported because we have some Easter eggs that you were not prepared for, that I was not prepared for. And it's a lot. So let's get into it. We're going to recap. We're going to go at a pace that is more appropriate because we have already seen it. Probably you've gone to multiple channels. You don't even need me to do this. But Tiny Jesus is with us, and we shall pray. Let us go. Oh, Hematoga, aka Denise, she knows. So we really lost our tree, okay? We really loved your peaches, wanna shake your tree, right about here in AJ's opening statement. Much different than last year's. We're seeing changes, we're experiencing changes, and let's get into it. May HD, high definition, the gods of 180 pixels or 5 gigahertz or someone's gigabits, for the love of Christ, get us through this. Press play.
He didn't care about finding the truth. In his world, his priority was to protect the brotherhood, to protect that blue wall, to protect his friends who were at the Alberts house that night. I want to take a step back, if I could, and spend the next few minutes talking a little bit more detail about what the actual facts in this case will show, not based on speculation, not based on surmise, not based on guesswork or conjecture, but the actual true facts that you will learn through the course of this trial. On January 28, 2022, it was a Friday night. John and Karen had made plans to meet up with friends for drinks. It was a happy and normal night for them. They were affectionate, they were loving, they were in good spirits, nothing out of the ordinary. They started a local watering hole called C.F. McCarthy's. You've heard that name before and you'll hear it again. And eventually they made their way over to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, another bar where they ended up. When they got to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, the Albert family was already there, already heavily drinking. You'll learn that this was no ordinary family, the Alberts. The Albert family was a well-known Canton family. Some might even describe them as a very powerful Canton family. Brian Albert was there at the waterfall. You'll hear that he's a longtime Boston police officer. His wife, Nicole Albert, was there with him. His brother, Chris Albert, a powerful Canton politician. He sits on the select board.
Oh.
The select board actually governs the police department, the Canton PD. He was there. His wife, Julie Albert, was there. Their daughter, Caitlin Albert, was there. His sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, was there. Her husband, Matt McCabe, was also there. They were all there drinking before John and before Karen ever arrived.
Oh.
You'll learn that a man by the name of Brian Higgins, also a law enforcement officer and longtime friend, longtime pal of Brian Albert, he was also there. And the two of them, the two Bryans, had been drinking most of the night together. You'll see video footage from the waterfall, which will show you that Karen and John were happy. They were affectionate. They were caring. They were loving. Just business as usual, out on a date on a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
But that exact same video footage which lead investigator Michael Proctor plainly chose to ignore that video footage. It paints a very different picture of Brian Higgins.
Oh.
You'll learn that Higgins had romantic designs for Karen. That becomes important.
I just wanted to say, I've never heard someone say that you had romantic designs for someone, and I will use it from now on. Thank you. Like designing women. He's designing Big Neck Daddy Higgins.
Important. Brian Higgins had engaged Karen in flirtatious texts, but days earlier, she had put a stop to it. She had ghosted him, in common parlance. In other words, just ignored him. The evidence will show that the first time he saw her and was in her presence after being rejected by her was when she walked into the Waterfall Bar and Grill along with her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. At 11:58 p.m., just minutes before John ultimately arrived at the Albert residence, you'll see a video at the waterfall of an unsettling interaction, troubling interaction between Brian Higgins and John O'Keefe. And unlike the lead investigator, Michael Proctor, in this case, you won't ignore that evidence. As the bar was closing around 12 midnight, the Alberts invited everybody back to their house for a get-together to just keep the night going. And you'll learn that Karen and John ultimately pulled up to the house. They got out of the SUV to make sure they had the right address. You see, neither John nor Karen had ever been to 34 Fairview. They weren't even sure they were the right address.
Yes.
And the evidence will establish that John got out of the SUV and went into the house. Let me say that again. The facts unequivocally, the data, the science, the witnesses will all unequivocally establish that John O'Keefe went into the Albert home that night.
Oh, behave, Mr. Jackson. If you're nasty, Mr. Jackson, what are we doing? We are saying that the data, the science, the forensics will unequivocally place Officer John O'Keefe inside 34 Fairview. And I know that his ass is not trying to cash checks that he can't, right? So that should have set off alarms. We got action, baby. What happened next?
Eyewitnesses and forensic data will establish that fact. When he didn't come back out, you'll learn that Karen grew increasingly frustrated.
Yeah, she did.
Upset. She was left alone in a car in the cold, in the middle of the night, with the car idling. John had gone into the house. She expected him to come right back out. And when he didn't, seconds turned into minutes, and minutes started to clock away.
Oh.
She left John a voicemail, then another voicemail after voicemail after voicemail, text messages. But he was unresponsive. He didn't pick up a single call. he didn't respond to a single text. The longer he didn't respond, the more upset she got. Commonwealth will intimate, as they already have in their opening statement, that these voicemails are evidence that the two were fighting. The actual evidence in this case, however, will show the exact opposite. You'll hear that Karen was very agitated. You'll hear some voicemails where she's swearing. You'll hear voicemails where she calls him names. There's name. Where she calls him names. There's name calling. But you'll also hear the context of those voicemails, and every single one of them, every single one of those voicemails was left for John after he failed to come back out of the house, after he failed to respond to her voicemails and to her texts.
And that is key, babes. We've said that since jump. We have said that, yes, Karen may be absolutely pissed off. She's a pissed off girlfriend. And one may intimate, if you will, why would I be calling you, texting you, driving you mental if I know that you, my loved one, that I, quote unquote, maybe clipped you with my vehicle? I think the fuck not.
Karen believed John had just left her sitting there, grabbed a beer, was partying with his friends. The evidence will actually show that John and Karen never had a crossword, not a single crossword that entire evening before he left that SUV and went inside the house.
Oh, please, babes. I'm just going to see what is happening because we're going to put this on regular speed. And if we have problems, just take me away.
And you will learn what Karen had absolutely no way of knowing at the time. It wasn't that he wouldn't respond to her. It's that he couldn't respond to her.
Oh.
And the evidence will show you why. Let's talk about that. We'll introduce you to a doctor named Elizabeth Lopesada, a renowned forensic pathologist, a medical examiner, and a professor at Brown University. She will tell you that the injury to the back of John's head, first of all, was immediately incapacitating. And that has meaning. At the moment he suffered that fatal head injury, he couldn't walk, talk, grab his phone, cry for help, nothing. He was completely incapacitated, completely unconscious from the moment he suffered that injury.
Babes, I'm just going to tell you this right the fuck now. This may be it, okay? This is the final stream. This is the fiesta. The fiesta, and that is not the correct one. This is the adios, okay? This is the adios show because nobody wants me to do this, okay? There is clearly something blocking a chakra or the government's internet or like I am being hacked, okay? If the trolls are hacking my shit, that might make sense. But the fact that I literally have spent $400 today and I still can't get this internet to work says something about me, okay? It might just be me. Not quite sure. But let's try to stay here together. Oh, I don't get why your stream is... Oh, it's okay? Oh, it does. Oh, okay.
He was completely still and incapable of interacting with anyone or anything. But the doctor will tell you something more and just as important. She'll tell you that John O'Keefe did not suffer from hypothermia, as the Commonwealth will undoubtedly allege.
Oh.
His body showed no signs of it.
Whoa. This is your next sign, babes. This is your next holy guacamole moment. Look and see who sees you. It is Tiny Jesus. Hello, Tiny Jesus. That was not a toot. It was my chair. Hello, Tiny Jesus. What are you doing here? Oh, did you just say that a new medical examiner is going to determine that Officer John O'Keefe did not have hypothermia? That his body and organs didn't show the signs of a typical hypothermia presentation? Be still. What are you saying, AJ? Tell me more. Anytime now. Boop.
No frostbite, no cold-induced injuries to his organs, no damage based on cold or frost. Ladies and gentlemen, the scientific evidence and the medical evidence will establish that John O'Keefe had to be injured somewhere else, somewhere warmer.
Oh.
And his body had to have been moved out into the cold.
Oh. Look at his pause there, babes. Now, we know both of these. We know both of the opening arguments now. And when you hear AJ say 3 times in the beginning that Karen or Officer John O'Keefe was not struck by a vehicle, and the way that he does his pause here, this is for the jury to take in what he is saying. Very incredible and typically used in, kind of any professors that you have would say that in college courses, and or when you're trying to analyze body language from people, you're going to look and you're going to say, I want you to retain this. And that's different. That is much different than 1.0.
And that's where ultimately at 6 a.m., Karen found him the next morning. You will learn that John did not have a single injury consistent with being hit by a car. Let me say that again. The evidence will establish that John did not suffer a single injury on his body consistent with having been hit by a car. Not one. You'll learn that John's torso, his ribs, his chest, his arms, his hips, his legs, his knees, his ankles, his feet, all of them. No broken bones, no fractures, no contusions, no torn ligaments, no internal injuries, not even a bruise. Nothing consistent with a car accident, despite the Commonwealth's contention that he was slammed into by a 6,000-pound SUV.
Allegedly.
Not a bruise.
Chills.
Dr. Laposado will tell you with medical certainty that, in fact, John was not struck by a vehicle. Medically and scientifically, he could not have been struck by a vehicle. Therefore, as I said, there was no collision. She will tell you that the patterned abrasions on John's right arm, the patterned abrasions you see over my left shoulder.
I don't want to get dinged. I'm moving. Sorry, guys.
Also learned that oddly, very oddly, after having their family pet for 7 years, a short time after this incident, the Alberts got rid of that dog. They called it rehoming her. But she was gone.
And I always like to say that Chloe may or may not be in Vermont with who? Her new adopted dads, Ben and Jerry.
Dr. Laposado will also tell you that the injury to John's head was not the result of falling backward onto a flat lawn, cold or otherwise. Rather, Dr. Laposado will tell you with medical certainty that the injury pattern to his scalp was produced by an impact from a raised or ledged surface, a surface that does not exist on Brian Albert's front lawn where John was found. The medical evidence will establish no hypothermia, no injuries from a car strike, no collision with a motor vehicle.
Wow.
And forensic analysis of John's cell phone, Mr. Brennan mentioned that in his opening statement.
Yes.
The Commonwealth's own expert will ultimately support the exact facts that I just told you, including the temperature data. John O'Keefe was injured someplace warmer, and he was moved. That alone is reasonable doubt.
Yes.
But there's much more.
Oh, my king.
You'll also learn that there were many people at that after-hours gathering at Brian Albert's house who would have left by the front door just feet from where John O'Keefe's body would have ultimately been had he actually been there right after 12:30 a.m.
Correct.
Which is what the Commonwealth's claim is. There were nearly a dozen people who walked out that front door directly adjacent to the precise spot where John O'Keefe would have been lying.
Right.
Not a single person, not one, not a single person saw a 6'2", 216-pound man laying sprawled in the front lawn in dark clothing on a light white dusting of snow. Not one. Then the evidence will also show that every one of those same people drove by that same spot, not walked by it, drove by it to leave the house, and still not one of them saw John laying in the yard when they left between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning. But you know who else you'll find never saw a body on that lawn? The snowplow driver, a completely independent witness, charged with plowing the streets in Canton that night. You'll hear that Michael Proctor, oh, he's not done yet, Mr. Proctor. You'll hear that Michael Proctor wrote a report where he claimed that Fairview had not been plowed that night. You'll learn that that was completely false. That was a lie. Michael Proctor did not want any more witnesses. He didn't want the truth. And he falsely claimed that the road was never plowed. You'll learn that he wouldn't look for the plow driver, but we did.
Sure did.
And we found, and we'll introduce you to, Brian Loughran. He plowed Fairview.
Let's say justice for Lucky. Okay. Lucky and Frankentruck and one of our best friends from out of town. Who is he? Mr. Michael Trotter, DPW from Canton, Massachusetts, a star in my eyes, taught me everything I know about F-150s, F-250s, F-350s, and more.
Fairview that night, and what he's going to tell you is that there was no body on that lawn at 2:30 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Loughran passed by 34 Fairview, traveling right next to Brian Albert's front yard, and at 2:30 a.m., John O'Keefe was not there.
Nope.
But you'll see that the plow driver also provides some other troubling information, troubling testimony for the Commonwealth. You'll learn that after making that pass at 2:30 a.m., he showed up with his plow an hour later. He stopped at the entrance of Fairview. He was looking up Fairview to decide whether or not to plow it, but he saw an obstruction. At 3:30 a.m., he looked down the street, and in the very spot precisely where Karen would later find John's body laying at 6 a.m., there was a car parked in front of it, a Ford Edge. You're going to ask yourself, who's moving a car at 3:30 in the morning into a blizzard on the side of the road? You'll learn that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, intentionally ignored this fact as well.
¿Qué pasó?
No investigation to find out who owned a Ford Edge.
Nope.
But again, we did. And the evidence will establish that Ford Edge happens to be a favorite model of the Albert family. More than one Albert owned a Ford Edge at the time.
Also, babes, it's a cop thing. It's a cop family cop thing as well. It's a lot of Fords. They're built Ford tough. Massachusetts cops do love a Ford. Why? Because their SUVs were always Ford Explorers, from what I remember.
You'll learn that those facts will add to the mounting and the overwhelming evidence that there was no collision and John O'Keefe's body was moved onto that lawn.
Yes.
You'll find that this is yet additional reasonable doubt in the case. You'll be introduced to science and physics, even from the Commonwealth's own experts. That science will establish that Karen Reed's SUV was not damaged by hitting a pedestrian, and conversely, John O'Keefe's injuries did not come from being struck by a vehicle. The Commonwealth mentioned triggering events, but what you'll actually learn from the experts, some of them the Commonwealth's own experts, is that a triggering event is not evidence of an accident. It does not evidence a collision. That's why we're here.
Oh.
A collision. And there's no evidence of one. Zero. You'll also find that those exact sort of triggering events that the Commonwealth will rely on are relatively commonplace on Karen's SUV, and none of them are associated with a claim of a collision.
Okay, babes. Now I just want to stop here because this was huge to me. We know that I had looked into the Toyota tech stream data right after trial 1.0 ended in July. We found an agency and a man that did an entire series. He is like the creator and of the Toyota tech stream and of the engineering part of it. And he said, okay, from my lips to God's ears, he said that Toyota tech stream, which is the actual linchpin of that specific data in Commonwealth v. Karen Reed, is only supposed to be used when in conjunction with several other like engineering or whatever, not engineering, reconstruction events. Toyota tech stream was made by Toyota for Lexuses and Toyota as a safeguard and a prevention of suing of Toyota from consumers. It is not a reconstruction, like what is it called? Programming. It's not supposed to be used for that. It was so that you couldn't say that there was something like a class action lawsuit from consumers and customers to Toyota itself. Shocking. And then we also know that Karen Reed's EDR box, that there was no accident triggers in that EDR. The black box was empty, babe. So what are we doing here? There was no collision. Take us to church, AJ. Go.
Folks, the science will not lie and the physics cannot lie. And that science will tell you with certainty there was no collision with John O'Keefe. You'll add that to that rising mountain of reasonable doubt.
Oh, Pierre, the EDR box is not the car's black box? I thought that's what they told me it was akin to. I always thought that black boxes were only in airplanes, but that's why I'm a nurse and not an engineer. If the EDR is not like a car's black box, I apologize if that was incorrect. I believed I heard that.
I want to take you back to the night in question, January 29th, for just a few minutes. Remember, Karen had gone home after dropping off John and John walking to the house. While Karen was asleep at home with John's 13-year-old niece, what were the people who had been at Brian Albert's house that night? What were they doing? While she slept, what you'll find and what the evidence will show is that they were extremely busy. You'll learn that after a long night of heavy drinking, Brian Higgins left the Albert residence, but he didn't drive home. Rather, he drove over to the Canton Police Department, where he kept an office at about 1:25 a.m. Not a Canton police officer. He kept an office there. Why go back to his office?
And we know why he had that office there, because of who? His good old pal, one of his BFFs, a guy that he had a relationship for decades, Kenny B. Berkey, if you will. God rest your soul, Berkey.
At 1:25 a.m. Why go back to the Canton Police Department at 1:25 in the morning on the night of a blizzard? You'll learn that while there, Higgins made a call at 1:30 a.m. Higgins will later deny that he made that call. You'll find that curious. And his explanation for that late night visit to Canton PD, you'll find that it changes nearly every time he's asked about it. You'll learn that after everyone left Brian Albert's house, Brian Albert actually claimed he had no contact with anybody else except his wife. No contact. Until he woke up the next morning. So he says. Then you'll learn that that too is a complete lie. His phone records establish that he placed a call to none other than Brian Higgins at 2:22 a.m. shortly after Higgins completed that late night visit over to Canton PD. You'll wonder, what did they possibly need to talk about at 2:22 a.m. that night? The evidence will establish that Brian Albert called Brian Higgins first. Brian Albert then disconnected that call when Higgins didn't answer it. Seconds later, Brian Higgins returned the call. Brian Albert then did answer that call. They spoke for 22 full seconds, had a conversation, then they both hung up their respective phones.
Sure did.
You'll learn that when they were asked about these calls and conversations, both Brian Albert and Brian Higgins lied about it. Both of them. They said they never had a call with each other. But then ultimately, when they were confronted with their own cell phone records and they could no longer deny the calls, they were asked independently, explain yourself. And they both came up with the exact same explanation: a butt dial. The evidence will make you question, why did Albert and Higgins speak at 2:22 a.m.? And why did they both try to cover up that phone call? You'll also learn after this incident and within days of one another, both Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, both police officers, both trained investigators,
Yes.
got rid of their phones. Both of them. And what else you'll learn, Brian Albert got rid of? Shortly after this incident, Brian Albert got rid of his house, the whole thing. Just sold it. His childhood home, a home that had been in the Albert family for generations. He literally sold it mere months after this incident.
And for $50,000 under ask. In the market that we had in 2023, forgive me, but that's not real consistent with a house in Canton that your parents built and that was generational. You took a hit on that in one of the best markets in the United States of America history. Oh.
Dog rehomed, phones destroyed, house sold. You'll learn that all these things happened shortly after the incident where John O'Keefe was found unresponsive and dying in Brian Albert's front lawn. And you'll also learn that Michael Proctor looked the other way. He did not investigate any of what I'm telling you. He pre-selected Karen Reed from the start, and he ignored everything and everyone else. Let's get back to what was happening with the others while Karen slept. What you'll learn during this trial is that Brian Albert's sister-in-law, you've heard her name before, Jennifer McCabe, she was at the waterfall that night.
And it won't be the last time. Giddy up, babes. This becomes very interesting. As always, incredible. I think this was an amazing job, but I like this part too.
She was over at the Alberts' house that evening as well. She left the after-hours gathering about 2 a.m., a little before 2 a.m., got home around 2 a.m. And you'll learn that according to the Commonwealth's own evidence from a forensic software program called Physical Analyzer made by Celebrite, it's considered the gold standard for forensic tools. You'll learn that a Google search was discovered on Jennifer McCabe's phone. A Google search that Michael Proctor and his investigators never revealed to us, but we found anyway. A Google search that was time-stamped, according to their own data, at 2:27 a.m. 5 minutes after that 2:22 a.m. call that Higgins and Albert denied having. And that Google search on Jennifer McCabe's phone read, Hoss long to die in cold. Hoss long to die in cold. Now, she misspelled the first word. Hoss is supposed to be how, but the meaning's the same. How long does it take to die in the cold? Time-stamped 2:27.
No.
And then that search was also noted by the same Celebrite program as having been deleted. The evidence will force you to ask, why is there a search on her phone? Why is it logged at 2:27 a.m.? When the Commonwealth claims that she first learned of John's death and where his body was hours later at 6 a.m. So what you'll learn is that while Karen slept, here's what was actually happening by some other very busy bees. 1:25 a.m., Brian Higgins makes an unexpected visit to Canton PD.
Busy
1:30
bees.
a.m., he makes a phone call that he later denies ever making. At 2:22 a.m., Brian Higgins and Brian Albert talk. They both deny and lie about having made that phone call. 2:27 a.m., 5 minutes later, a Google search appears on Jennifer McCabe's phone, "Haas long to die in cold," hours before John's body was ever discovered. A Google search she denies making, and that she later, or at least it was later logged as deleted. Meanwhile, at 2:30 a.m., the plow driver confirms that O'Keefe's body was not on the lawn of Brian Albert's house, not at 2:30 in the morning. And at 3:30 in the morning, that area was obstructed by a Ford Edge like the one the Albert family liked to own. The evidence will show in the meantime, Karen dozed in and out of a fitful sleep for the rest of the night, only to awaken just before 5 a.m. And that's when she realized, in a panic, John had never come home.
Yes.
And you'll see, it wasn't like John to not come home. That morning, you'll see and hear evidence that Karen's emotions had morphed. It'd gone from frustration and anger, which you'll hear in the voicemails, to abject fear. Fear that something bad had happened. The evidence will establish by this time, Karen was panic-stricken. She had a feeling something was very, very wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry, babes. Do we remember Nurse Kim's non-consensual intern mock opening statement from last night? What did I say? I said a feeling of impending doom. And it has always made sense to me that Karen Reed, upon recognizing that Officer John O'Keefe did not come home after almost or over 50 calls and texts and left voicemails, and that he did not answer his niece, I pray that you never have the feeling that something is radically wrong, and that, like my Nana used to say, I was afraid you were, quote, dead in a ditch somewhere. And for people that have anxiety, this is very, very relatable.
Wrong. She was unable to get a hold of John. Karen went to go look for him. She got in her Lexus and she backed up to leave her garage at One Meadows. You'll hear a lot about that address, One Meadows. That was John's house where Karen was staying. She backed out of the garage, and during the course of the trial, you'll hear that she actually struck another car.
Yeah.
With that right rear taillight. During the course of this trial, the Commonwealth is going to desperately claim that Karen Reed's taillight was actually damaged by hitting John O'Keefe. They'll have no evidence of it, mind you.
Mary, did you see that? Hi, Mary Malarkey, mother of me and petty paralegal. Where did we see that Erin left when Kerry was on the stand? Oh.
None. But they'll make the claim. We'll show you a video of exactly how that taillight was originally damaged, or exactly what happened at 5:07 in the morning. The facts will show that it was damaged in John's own driveway at 5:07 when Karen backed up and made contact with another car in the driveway. This is 5 hours after she dropped John off and he went into the Albert residence. As a result, the taillight was minimally cracked, but it wasn't completely shattered or damaged or broken. And that's the condition of the SUV when Michael Proctor got a hold of it. That becomes important. You'll hear from an independent police officer, an eyewitness to the damage on that SUV, someone not connected to Michael Proctor or under his control. And he'll tell you that he saw the taillight damaged before it was in Michael Proctor's possession, but it was not completely shattered.
I do want to say, Cindy Weiss, if there was ever a time where Mr. Nurse Kim's cell phone or my cell phone was looked through and you caught us on a bad year, and when you are together for 19 years, you do have great years and years that you are like, ooh, one of us call quits because I'm not pulling it, but you need to. And if you ever saw things that, especially when we were like younger or when the kids were smaller, like of just feeling so stressed out, so frustrated, and I would be clink, clink, throw it away. Okay. Throw the key away. You're sending Nurse Kim down the river. If you wanted to look at private personal texts in the last 19 years, oh, or how many times we as women may be over emotional and call, or not even as women, it's men, women, anyone who happens to, express themselves in that way. If you're going to text it, own it. If you're texting it, babe, be prepared, because any kind of law enforcement or court or your employer would be able to use it in the future for anything, especially if you are in a public service position, or if you are a nurse, a doctor, firefighter, paramedic, cop, anything. Be prepared.
And you won't have to speculate how that taillight got cracked originally. You'll see it for yourself. It's on video.
Oh.
You'll learn that part of the reason that Karen's Lexus hit that car at One Meadows is because she backed out looking for him at a time when she was absolutely panicked.
Yes.
Panic-stricken and grief-stricken. Where was John? Why hadn't he come home? What had happened to him? Is he hurt? Is he passed out somewhere? Her mind was reeling. The evidence will establish she wasn't giving anything away. Everything was on the table. What could have happened to John?
Also, I would love to throw in there, was he playing Hide the Salam? That was a question. There were a couple of previous lady friends that lived right around that area and had, Officer John O'Keefe potentially had a nightcap and found himself, slipping and falling and inside the cavity of another. Hide the Salam.
You'll learn that when she woke up and he still wasn't home, she was just racking her brain for what could have happened to him. And she was worried about possibly the worst. He'd gotten out of the car. He'd walked to the house. She was confused. And later, when she found him at 6 a.m. on the lawn, where she last saw him going toward the house, her mind started reeling, oh my God, did a plow hit him? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? What could have happened to him? And that video clip that you saw, out of context, when she said the words, he did not look like he was mortally wounded, she's not talking about at midnight. She's talking about at 6 a.m. when she found him.
Yup.
That's what she was talking about.
Yup. Tell him,
Your
AJ.
job will be to make sure that the evidence isn't presented to you too cute by half. She was saying all those things. Did a plow hit him? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? She was saying that to herself and to other people. And the Commonwealth, very obviously, will try to seize on that panic and twist this into some admission. But here's the actual truth. That's not a confession. Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Could a plow have hit him? That's a person trying to make sense of an unexplainable circumstance, a natural concern of a bereaved significant other, a woman desperately trying to piece together what could have happened on this tragic night. John didn't come home. And the evidence will show that Karen Reed never said, I hit him. Never. Not in the background of the 911 recording, not on any dash cam video, not on any audio, not on any police body cam, not to a first responder. It's never mentioned in a single report. It's never reported in a single report from January 29th, not by one person, because it never happened. The evidence will show that there were at least 13 members of law enforcement or first responders and 2 civilian witnesses that were intently focused on what was happening at that scene. They were all over the lawn. They were all over Karen. Officer Saraf, Mulaney, Good, Lank, EMT Nuttal, Flamati, Kelly.
Oh, and this is where it gets spicy, babes. A little foreshadowing, if you will. Alan Jackson says what we have said since day one. Prior to even trial 1.0. Karen Reed's statement could have been, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he alive? That's my boyfriend. Help. There's many things that were said. But I hit him, I hit him, I hit him is in exactly 0 reports or documents on January 29th, 2022. Facts matter, journalism. Listen to me. If you are a nurse, if you are a medical professional, if you are a police officer or a firefighter, you know damn right well that somebody stating that would have needed to be documented. Why? Because it will dictate your treatment plan. I need to know the most information I can when coming upon a scene and finding an unresponsive male in asystole, aka flatlined, in a cardiac arrest. And the first witness up on the stand was mind-blowing to me. It was Timothy Nuttal. And AJ gave him the business because he doubled down on I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Kelly, Walsh, Woodbury, Whitley, Becker, Roby, McLaughlin, Kerry Roberts, Jennifer McCabe. They were all there watching and listening. On January 29th, when John O'Keefe was found, not one first responder reported having heard Karen Reed say the words, "I hit him." Not one. Not one civilian reported having heard Karen Reed say, "I hit him." The facts will show that the first time this improved statement was ever claimed to have been made was some 24 hours later by a single EMT in an interview. Now listen to this. In an interview coordinated by a Canton police detective named Kevin Albert.
Oh, this was good. All the Alberts.
Brian Albert's brother.
Oh.
And remember, Chris Albert, the other brother, is a board selectman to whom the Canton Police Department reports. And what's more, you'll learn that Katie McLaughlin, that's the EMT, that's the single EMT, the first person to have claimed to have heard this unrecorded and unreported statement, is years-long, close personal friends with a young woman named Caitlin Albert. You heard that right. It's Brian Albert's daughter. During the course of this trial, you'll become familiar with and you'll realize that the Alberts are indeed a powerful and indeed an influential family. And that will mean something. You'll learn that there are other major problems with the prosecution's case. The evidence will establish that Michael Proctor himself, the lead investigator and architect of this entire case, has a long-standing and personal relationship with the Albert family. Yes, that same Albert family.
I'm going to tell you this right now, Pokey SD. Pregnant pauses. I almost got pregnant, literally, during those pauses. Oh.
His sister was close friends with Julie Albert. He personally sat at head tables at weddings, or at a head table at weddings with the Albert family. He entrusted the Alberts with babysitting his own children. You heard that correctly. And yet he was the lead detective assigned to investigate the circumstances of a Boston police officer laying dead on the Alberts' front lawn. That's not just bias, you'll learn. That's not just coincidence. That, folks, is corruption.
And reminder, babes, that it is not just the actual assertion of impropriety when investigating and needing to be impartial. It is the mere appearance of impropriety, which this has wreaked because of the connections, right? Trooper Proctor may not have clearly been close at all with Brian Albert or Nicole Albert, but if you could even have an appearance of maybe not being able to be impartial, one should recuse oneself. And it didn't happen here, and it hasn't happened in the Commonwealth in several other cases.
And you'll see how far it went.
That we know.
Michael Proctor was alone with all the critical evidence in this case, along with Karen Reed's phone, along with John's phone, along with video footage, along with the taillight material, alone when he claimed to recover evidence from 34 Fairview. He wrote the search warrants. He transported the evidence. He secured it. He submitted it. He did it all. That's Michael Proctor. And he did it without any reasonable oversight.
Oh.
You'll see during the trial that he intentionally lied and fabricated evidence during the course of this investigation. He lied in reports, warrants. He lied under oath. He lied about the time that he actually secured Karen Reed's vehicle.
He did.
Why? Why would he lie about that? The evidence will give you the answer. He lied because he did not want it revealed that he had access to that vehicle and he had access to that taillight before any taillight fragments were found at 34 Fairview. Appreciate that. He had access to the vehicle before a single piece of taillight material was ever found at the scene. You'll find that there were 2 searches. The first and second search found 0. Nothing. Nothing around John's body. Nothing in the street. Not one piece of taillight fragment. But once Michael Proctor had that SUV and had the taillight in his custody and control, suddenly items started magically showing up. And not just a few items. 46 pieces of bright red taillight laying in the snow, supposedly found in the exact same spot that was searched not once, but twice by independent officers. Came up with 0. To be clear, you'll learn that before Michael Proctor had access to that taillight, not a single piece was ever recovered at 34 Fairview. That will become vitally, vitally important. And what about those shards of plastic, by the way? What about this DNA that the Commonwealth mentioned? They're going to try to dazzle you with talk of DNA because it sounds so scientific. DNA was on the taillight, but you'll learn that there was no DNA on the actual shards that they claim came in contact with John's arm. None. There was no blood, no tissue, no skin, no DNA on a single shard of plastic that they claim cut deep abrasions into John's arm, the arm that you saw overhead. The DNA that was actually found, the actual science will show, was found outside of the taillight housing where.
Oh, and babes, I want you to listen when I tell you, perk those ears up. Okay? Like you are Chloe getting rehomed. Okay? What's happening, Mom? You know? We need to perk our ears up right now because the way AJ put this is a masterclass. And really take in what he's saying. We'll talk all the shit. Go, AJ.
Anyone with access to that vehicle would have touched. And it wasn't just one male's DNA. In that exact same sample, there were 3 men found. John and 2 unidentified males. So unless the Commonwealth is going to shift their theory that SUV hit 3 men that night, their entire theory falls apart.
Okay, that said that that there was DNA found on the housing of Karen Reed's vehicle. We know what? That every police officer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and potentially the United States of America was taught to, when you are walking behind a vehicle, any vehicle, your vehicle, or if you're pulling someone over at a stop, you are supposed to put your hand on a taillight on the back rear of the car. Why? In case, God forbid, something happens. Also, Officer John O'Keefe and Karen were in a 2-year relationship of which she stayed over his house all the time. You don't think that they did grocery shopping together? That maybe that they were putting, I don't know, golf clubs or kids' sporting equipment in the back of her Lexus? Stop it. But what was not found was any DNA on the shards that allegedly cut Officer John O'Keefe's arm. Take that in, babes. On the apparent plastic, there was no DNA, but he bled. Oh my.
And speaking of DNA, the evidence will further establish that John O'Keefe's shoe, the one that he was wearing when he was found, was sampled. And that DNA revealed 5, count them, 5 unidentified males. Recall that the evidence will establish independently that John was injured someplace warmer and had to be moved onto that lawn. 5 unidentified males touching that shoe. You'll also learn that you are not the first person, not the first to hear about the Commonwealth's theory of this case, that John was hit by an SUV. That's their theory. The Commonwealth presented this exact same claim to their own medical examiner, a woman by the name of Dr. Irini Scorti-Bello. And you'll learn that after reviewing what's called a law enforcement accident notifier, with law enforcement's theory of the collision written in it, defined in it, after conducting the autopsy herself, after examining John's injuries in detail, she refused to conclude that John's death was a homicide based on the Commonwealth's presentation and their theory.
Oh, and I want to remind us, babes, that this is such a big deal. Did I have it in my mock opening statement? Yes, I did. Stop it. Would I have gotten a C, like a C minus on my opening? Maybe, if it was being graded. Can't believe I got as many things in it as they did actually use. But here is the bigger point. I didn't know that they could use Dr. Scorty Bellows' non-determination that Officer John O'Keefe's death still remains undetermined today, as we sit here on April 22nd, 2025. And the biggest cowabunga, what the frig is happening moment is that we know there were two meetings where Trooper Michael Proctor, former disgraced, dishonorably discharged Trooper Michael Proctor, ended up attempting to get a designation of homicide. He was unsuccessful. This was the only case in his 12-year career at Mass State Police that he had ever been a part of or was the lead investigator or had testified in, that they were trying someone for murder that wasn't designated a homicide by the OCME in Massachusetts. And when I tell you, I clutched my pearls and clenched my butt when I found out through the Canton audit, the Canton police audit, that the cause of death in Massachusetts is typically determined, or is always determined, by the medical examiner. Duh, right? You need to know that it's blunt force trauma and hypothermia per Irene Scorti-Bello. But babes, 95 or more % of the time, the manner of death is determined by Mass State Police, because the Office of Chief Medical Examiner is an arm and an extension of MSP. So not only did Irene Scorti-Bello hold the line for truth and for justice, she went against what is typical commonplace practice in the Commonwealth. The cops are determining manners of death via their investigation because there is no independent investigation by the medical examiner's office. That needs to change immediately, in my opinion.
That's right. The Commonwealth's own medical examiner will not deem the manner of death in this case, a homicide. She won't do it. But they're nonetheless back again trying to present the exact same theory to you in this trial. Again, the evidence will show that is reasonable doubt. Throughout this trial, the Commonwealth will try to convince you of paranormal events, phones calling themselves, messages deleting themselves, Google searches made and then unmade, evidence magically appearing and evidence magically disappearing. But all that smoke and all those mirrors will not ever reach their burden. Because that's what this case is ultimately about. It's about the Commonwealth's burden of proof.
Yep.
You'll learn that during the trial, the Commonwealth bears the highest burden known to our justice system. They must prove every element of every charge beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. And you'll learn that moral certainty means the highest level of certainty known in human affairs. It's not a small thing. They're not going to be able to do that. Not when every piece of this case was handled by a disgraced investigator with a motive to protect his friends, not when the physical evidence contradicts their very theory, not when their own medical examiner won't call this case a homicide based on the exact theory that they're presenting to you, not when the conduct of those in the House and the utter lack of investigation speaks volumes about those who actually have something to hide. By the end of this trial, you'll conclude that Karen Reed is not guilty of hitting John O'Keefe with her SUV.
Oh.
There was no collision. She's the victim of a botched and biased and corrupted investigation that was never about the truth, folks. It was about preserving loyalty. You'll find that this case is the very definition of reasonable doubt. And at the end of this trial, we'll ask you to return the only verdicts, all three of them, that are consistent with the evidence, the science, the truth, and justice
Oh.
Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Folks, why don't we take a
Wow. Wow, loveys. I was sweating this morning, not just because of the, issues with my technology per usual, but I was sweating to the oldies just thinking, holy shit. We are in for it, babes. Whatever we thought we knew, there's more. Oh, perhaps the dribs and drabs that were given to us from the Commonwealth in 1.0 as it relates to, I don't know, Sally Port video. I don't know, as it relates to reports and all of the information that they have been just, sitting on, discovery issues left and right. The Commonwealth has no repercussions, in my opinion, from Judge Beverly Cannoni on what they're doing, on choices that they've made, decisions that have consequential impacts. And yet the defense rises again. And this was another chef's kiss, in my opinion, by Alan Jackson this morning. Really powerful opening statement. I am still partial to who? David Yannetti, who I look at like one bowl of spaghetti because he is a treat. And I thought that he did an incredible job in 1.0. But Alan Jackson hit every single mark on reasonable doubt, bias, corruption, and that Karen Reed never struck Officer John O'Keefe with her vehicle. There was no collision. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Oh, and Melissa knows that Mr. Yannetti is our bowl of spaghetti. Now, let's watch the OnlyFan for a moment because it brings us joy and insomnia and some joy. Oh, and we're going to get into we're going to go quickly with Nuttal. And this was wild. I got to say, guys, I never thought Alan Jackson would kind of give Tim Nuttal as much of a problem as he did, but he needed it because he kept saying contradictory things. So here we go.
All right, Mr. Brennan, your first witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth calls Timothy Nuttal.
Yes, we're not going to do his training and experience.
Modalities that we can pursue, multiple different interventions, a whole host of medications, far more medications than a BLS. As a paramedic, I have a much wider range of drugs that I.
Yep, he does all the druggies. No, he doesn't do druggies. He can give them.
As you prepare before you get off the ambulance.
Just basic scenarios. I mean, again, unresponsive male in the snow could mean several things.
Hello, where are you?
Not having much to go off on the dispatch was, it left much to be desired in terms of what we might need. So in gathering all the equipment together, that can kind of cover all the major bases, if you will, in terms of what we were expecting to meet once we got on scene.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Playback. How about we try this?
How was your focus before you get off the ambulance?
I was ready to go. A dispatch like that, any unresponsive male in the snow, it can kind of up the level because you just don't know what you're walking into. It could really be, it could be anything.
In the back of the ambulance, you can't see outside. Could you tell anything about the weather conditions based on the way the ambulance was moving?
Again, being in the back, as you noted, it just seemed to be taking a little bit longer than normal. I really had no visibility at all. Like I said, I was in the patient compartment. It's very limited visibility in the back, and it's limited visibility.
Loveys, I get this. Kimberly says, another one of those personalities. I'm smarter than anyone else in the room. I'll tell you this, babes. I would want Tim Nuttal in my team, okay? Because I do think that he is a very skilled paramedic. Personalities, yeah, we know. But how many personalities of doctors and respiratory therapists or physical therapists or I don't even know, podiatrists, right? That you're like, oh, Jesus, you're like a proctologist. Look it up. Okay. These are the men of our lives. Okay. These are the days and the paramedics of our lives. In my mind, he was an Eagle Scout. He had a pocket protector. Okay. He studies all the time. He studies to this day, babes. He does his CEUs 2 years in advance. He is a man that does not let any new updates, right? He wants gold standard of practice at all times, in my mind. So, yes, he may be a little bit interesting on the personality, but I think he does know his SHIT a lot. Why am I spelling shit? I don't know.
There's like a peephole that's maybe 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet to kind of peek up front. But again, I was so busy getting everything together, I really didn't notice.
Was he a peeping Tim? Oh, stop it.
But I did note it took a little bit longer. We were going not slow, but we were going cautiously.
When the ambulance finally stopped and the doors opened, tell the jury what you see.
So as I mentioned, I had the 2 bags and the cardiac monitor. So 3 pieces of equipment with me. And I stepped out of the back of the side of the truck. There's a back compartment or a back door and a side door. I stepped out of the side door. And I immediately noted the wind had picked up and the snow seemed to be heavier. And I could hear like a distant screaming off in the distance. Wasn't exactly sure where it was coming from.
What was the visibility like?
It wasn't great. It was still dark out. The sun had not come up yet. The snow was coming down, as I said, heavily. And it wasn't great all around.
Was it cold?
It was cold. Yes, sir.
And so when you hear the screams, what do you do next?
I started making my way kind of towards the sound, following the sounds. I couldn't see anybody yet. So I just kind of followed the sounds. And then once I was able to get around the side of the truck, that's when I was able to see a group of 3 individuals with Canton Police. And I started making my way over to them to see where the patient might be located and what was going on.
As you get closer, tell us what you see.
So as we approached the scene, as I said, there were 3 individuals and Canton Police were on scene as well. And then there was what appeared to be a human figure laying supine in the snow. I'd say about 6 to 8 feet, kind of where the sidewalk met the front lawn of a residence.
What does supine mean?
So that he was laying on his back.
Oh, and now here's where it gets tricky. Things get tricky, Timmy. Timmy, don't do it. But Timmy does it, okay? Can't tell him shit. Timmy's going down this road, and it's a treacherous one, my friend. I didn't see it coming. I squinted, okay, several times. Timmy first says to us that now he is stating that he found a body, supine, meaning laying on their back, in the snow approximately 6 to 8 feet from the curb. Now, babes, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but we all know that we saw the dash cam from Cruiser 683 that morning. Babe, you can't see a curb. In the first response, maybe when Canton PD and Sergeant Gallagher, or Lieutenant Gallagher rather, were using a leaf blower to blow us all away. Okay. Maybe that's when. But you couldn't see it for shit and sure at 6 o'clock in the morning. Continue, Timmy.
From there, I made my way directly over to that individual and started checking for signs of life.
How do you check? Do you get close? Do you get down on the ground?
Yep. So I knelt right at his head. Typically, to check for any signs of life, it's just as you see in TV or anything like that. You check the carotid pulse. and you check for any signs of breathing or anything like that.
Where's the carotid pulse?
So the
Can you show
carotid
us?
pulse will be right in the neck. Like it just real quick, 2 seconds. You can check either side. They're on both sides.
Oh, Timmy, Mayday, Timmy, you little nut. What are we doing? You don't check a fucking carotid for 2 seconds. You do that for a full minute, 30 seconds at least. And we know that this was a viable resuscitative event. Why? Because Anthony Flamati, the lead and senior paramedic who was actually running this call, not our little Poindexter pocket square wearing Timmy just joined this. He wasn't even on, engine 1 or whatever it was. 1 and 3 always go together, he said, but he was there early that morning. And he came to be helpful. We appreciate that. Yes, King. But this is wild to say that you checked a carotid in a fucking 911 emergency code and you checked it for 2 seconds and then you found out you opined from that this. Oh.
Those are the strongest pulses that you can grab quickly. So I just
Hold, please. Dear God of internet, please continue.
real quick went right to that gentleman. Like I said, I looked for any signs of breathing. I found none. I checked a carotid pulse and I found none.
How was his skin to the touch?
He was very cold to the touch.
He wasn't warm?
No.
So after you touched his cold skin and you felt the carotid, is it carotid artery? Is that how you
Yes,
call
sir.
it?
Carotid artery.
Did you come to any initial quick assessments or conclusions in your mind?
So I found, like I said, I checked for signs of life, the carotid, the signs of breathing. I found none. From there, we had ascertained that there is no signs of life. As I was checking that, the other 2 individuals on the ambulance came and met me, and they began doing the same thing just to check. I mean, sometimes you can look and you can miss. So the other paramedic, Anthony Flamati, started checking my work, and then we kind of went from there. But I found no signs of life in my initial.
So firefighter paramedic Flamati arrived to this person after you did?
Yes, sir. I was the first one to actually put hands on the individual and check for signs of life.
Did you later learn the name of this man?
I did.
And what was that?
John O'Keefe.
After you found no signs of life for John O'Keefe, did you get up and go to speak to anybody?
I did. So as being a second set of hands on the call, it's really not my call, like in terms of treatment modalities and how we want to progress. So after I found no signs of life, I kind of got up to kind of look around real quick. I went over to the individuals, the 3 individuals that were there.
Babes, I want to take 1 minute and just tell you really quickly. We have problems here. And Timmy Nuttal just made a big oopsie. He oopsied his doopsies here. By saying that you checked for signs of life, we have a specific criteria, right? And if a patient meets more than 3, okay, and you are not able to believe that you have a viable candidate here, then Officer John O'Keefe should have been pronounced. A coroner should have been called. How Timmy Nuttal expresses what he sees now is very different, in my opinion, than he did in 1.0. When you're talking about rigidity in limbs, and we'll hear him talk about frostbite because he didn't mention it in 1.0. We've covered it how many frickin' times? But oh, be Jesus. You're going to be in exact opposition of the lead paramedic who made the call. Of course, the rule always is you cannot be, you're not dead unless you're warm and dead. I get it. But at the end of the day, if there was no signs of life, why was that call made?
And just said, hey, I just have found no signs of life. We're going to see the next steps. And as I was saying that was when Anthony Flamati, who is the lead paramedic on this, made the decision. This is a workable cardiac arrest.
Let me ask you two questions. The first is, as a paramedic firefighter, are there times when you're the lead paramedic on a call?
Yes, sir.
And so it changes call by call, but this one was firefighter or paramedic Flamati's lead.
Correct. He was the lead paramedic on this call.
There are other times when you're the lead and firefighter or paramedic Flamati is on your crew and you lead?
Yes, sir. So we typically switch off. We'll do one, and then once my rotation is complete, we'll do the next one. So it's patient for patient, typically.
When firefighter paramedic Flamati called you back and said it was a workable situation, can you explain to the jury what that means?
Yes. So in medicine, there is a term that is you're not dead until you're warm and dead. Meaning your core temperature, your core body temperature has to be within normal limits.
What's within normal
for
limits?
it to be considered a futile attempt.
What's
at
within
resuscitation.
normal limits? 95.
Knowing that,
Val.
Tony, the other paramedic, Tony Flamati, realized that this gentleman was very cold to the touch and that this was now a hypothermic cardiac arrest, or a cardiac arrest in a hypothermic setting, which means as providers, we have a duty to initiate life-saving measures, CPR, ventilation, and
Oh, sorry, babes. He's so full of shit up to his eyeballs. I can't even stand it. I'm sorry. Shut up, Kim. I cannot stand that. Oh, this is exact opposite accounts, unless there is something in the water. And Anthony Flamati comes back for 2.0 and changes his entire testimony. Because we heard from Anthony Flamati in trial 1 that Officer John O'Keefe was pliable, meaning you could move his arms and legs. There was no rigidity. There was no lividity, meaning that there was no pooling of blood on the back of Officer John O'Keefe, who allegedly had no signs of life. Timmy, I'm going to need you, honey. You got to go and get those CEUs redone, babe. Because what Anthony Flamati documented was that Officer John O'Keefe was bright red in his back. Bright red. Meaning what? That he was not having pooling blood. That he was in the stages, the beginning, earliest stages of frostbite. Oh.
continue those efforts until we get him to a hospital and a physician is able to take over and they're able to monitor his core body temperature for a certain amount of time.
I want to ask you about a term you used. You said a hypothermic situation. As a firefighter paramedic treating a patient at the scene, you're not diagnosing hypothermia, are you?
No, sir.
So you're not making a medical.
Tammy, I'm so sorry that you got bit by the bite, babe, huh? Look at this. This is what I want you all to think about. Okay. When we go through frostbite, you have stage 1, you have cold, sore, red, painful. Stage 2, superficial. That's when you get little white tips. Stage 3, deep frostbite. That is numbness, hard and black skin. Okay. Which would have been absolutely present in Officer John O'Keefe had he been out in the inclement weather during a blizzard with winds gusting 50 to 60 miles per hour for 5.5 hours. He would have been in stage 3. Oh. It would have been his fingertips. It would have been the tips of his ears, his nose, even any exposed areas. And we know that Officer John O'Keefe only had on a light hoodie, 2 layers, his orange t-shirt, his hoodie, his jeans, and his shoes. No earmuffs, no scarf, no mittens. Everything would have been exposed. Tip of your nose, tip of your ears, everything. I call bullshit, Timmy. This is an example also of stage 2. Sorry, I'm weird and I don't know why I have these still clipped.
Diagnosis, you're just saying it's a hypothermic situation because of why?
Just because of the conditions. He was extremely cold to the touch, and he was in the elements. We didn't know how long. So taking the fact that he is extremely cold to the touch and he had been outside for an unknown amount of time, that quantifies it to us as a hypothermic arrest or a cardiac arrest in a hypothermic setting.
Is there anything about Mr. O'Keefe's fingers or hands or his face that gave you any indication if he had been there just recently or had been there for a while?
His fingers were quite cold. They were not well perfused at all. They were very, very.
Mean? I don't know. What does not perfused mean?
Sorry, there did not appear to have been any blood flow at all. Just because he was, again, presumably being outside, his fingers were very, very white. They were very stiff, which can be signs of hypothermia and frostbite. And again, touching the neck. So typically when you get cold, you kind of work back from your extremities in. So again, I noted his fingers were quite cold, but also when I checked his carotid, his neck felt.
Quick question. I want to know, how did Timmy Nuttal, where did you see Officer John O'Keefe's fingers? Right, babes? Because unless he had allegedly, he reported that he was stiff at that time, correct? So if we look at Officer John O'Keefe's autopsy photos, you can see that he's almost in a fisted position. It's called decerebit, okay? And his hands are in an inward because of his catastrophic brain damage and the herniation of his brain stem. So when were you looking at his fingers? Because had he moved frozen fingers, they would have stayed in this position. And that is not what is depicted in Good Samaritan hospital records and or the autopsy and the photos that we've seen from 1.0. Tell me, Timmy.
Quite cold as well. That just kind of tipped us back further down the road of a hypothermic cardiac arrest.
I see. When firefighter Flamade called you back,
yep,
where did you go exactly?
So when I was told that this is what we're doing, I turned around and I went right back to where I previously knelt, which was right at Mr. O'Keefe's head. And then I took over the ventilation aspect of.
Oh, guys, let's do a pray to the gods of Wi-Fi. I'm going to give it to you on your mark, get set, go.
Of a cardiac arrest. So I was in charge of the airway. So I began giving him positive pressure ventilations with a bag valve mask, which is just a glorified balloon that you can push oxygen through and down into your respiratory tract to get oxygen moving. While I was doing that, I believe firefighter EMT Kelly had begun CPR.
So is this fair to say it's a team effort?
Yes, sir.
A coordinated effort?
Very much so.
And depending on where you're placed, whether in the back of the ambulance or driving or leading, does everybody have an important role to play?
Yes. Yeah, we work in conjunction with each other. Typically, the most well-defined roles in a cardiac arrest in EMS is your airway monitor, which was myself in this situation, and then your cardiac and medication administration, which is, that would be Anthony Flamati, that would be Tony. Just because of my position at the head, I just took over the ventilation aspect, and that was where I remained throughout the call.
You said you went back to try to help Mr. O'Keefe, and you were giving helping at the airway. Do you have to actually get on the ground to do that?
Yes, sir. I was kneeling at his head.
While you were kneeling at his head, well, let me ask you more of a background question. Is it helpful to get information about the history of the person when you're trying to treat them when you happen upon a scene and you don't know the history?
Yes, sir. Very much. Getting information on medications, history, and allergies is our top. Just any call, not even this call. Just really any fall or chest pain. That's typically the first questions that we ask. What medications are you on? What medical history do you have? Do you have any allergies? The medical history is important because if you've had heart attacks in the past, or just using a generalized example, if you've had heart attacks in the past, does this feel like a previous heart attack? We kind of give us something to go off of.
As you were nailing, I want you to take us to that moment. As you're nailing, trying to help Mr. O'Keefe, did you have a chance at any point to look up?
I did.
And when you looked up, when you were trying to help Mr. O'Keefe, can you tell us who you saw?
I saw a middle-aged middle-aged female with blood on her face. And I, real quick, as I was in the process of providing ventilations, I said, do you know this person?
The person that you looked up and saw that was standing over you with blood on her face, do you recognize that person in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
With the court's permission, sir, could you point out that person that you looked up and saw?
In between Mr. Jackson or next to Mr. Jackson.
I see. And when you looked up and saw that person and asked about any background, what did she say to you?
I hit him.
Oh, wait, let's go back. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that quicker. Oh, you silly goose. All right, babe. Sorry. We just got to go back because I noted something very specific.
Is our top priorities in any call, not even this call, just really any your run-of-the-mill fall or chest pain. As you typically is our top priorities in any call, not even this call, just really any your run-of-the-mill fall or chest pain. As you typically the first questions that we ask: what medications are you on? What medical history do you have? And do you have any allergies?
Of course, I went back
looked
too
up
far.
and saw that person and asked about any background. What did she say to you?
I hit him.
Now, have we heard up until this point, did Timmy Nuttal clear his throat any other time? Because I don't recall it. I hit him. Oh, Timmy. Interesting.
Clearly, do you remember her words saying to you, I hit him? I
remember it very distinctly.
Oh, gods of internet, please, for the love.
You've been to a lot of calls over the years and since.
Yes, sir.
Would you say hundreds or thousands?
Thousands.
Do you remember all of them?
I remember aspects of various calls, but not all of them, no.
Do some stand out more than others?
Yes, sir.
Did this particular moment stand out more as compared to your typical or most calls that you've been to?
It did, just because of this.
Oh, come on. It did because of what? All right, let's just go a little bit
Put
further
Mr.
here.
O'Keefe on the scoop stretcher, and we were able to get him on to the stretcher itself and then off to the ambulance. From there, I maintained my role as the airway individual on this call. So we made our way to the ambulance. I got in the tech seat, which is directly behind where the stretcher locks in. So I had access to the airway again. I was continuing to provide positive pressure ventilations to Mr. O'Keefe, and we had put in an OPA as well, which is just a plastic hook, if you will. It just keeps the tongue from falling back into the airway, so we can continue to provide positive pressure ventilations. Once we got him in the truck and we continued that that effort, we set up a suction system and we prepared to intubate Mr. O'Keefe. We prepared a suction system just because as I was ventilating outside of the ambulance, there were some secretions in the airway that I could see, and you could kind of hear it as you go to squeeze in breaths into the individual. You can kind of hear the secretions kind of getting like bubbly and stuff like that. So we knew we were going to need to suction him. So we got him in the truck. We really quickly suctioned him, and then we were able to intubate him successfully to definitively give him an advanced airway. And
reminder, babes, Timmy Nuttal told us that Officer John O'Keefe, he saw his fingers, okay? But we knew that he had a more of a closed hand presentation at time of death. He said that there was no signs of life. He said that he was rigid. However, you were able to intubate him without incident. How'd you open his jaw? Just wondering. Oh. Also, Timmy, I'm going to need to know what kind of secretions you were suctioning. And you're going to tell me, right?
it's more, give him better ventilations, get more oxygen into his system.
Now, you mentioned that he wasn't warm. He was very cold.
No, he was still very cold.
What does the team do to try to assist with that?
The most basic thing that we did, we turned the heat on as high as it would go. We also stripped all of his clothing off, just getting all of that wet clothing off of him. I didn't really have a role in that particular part of it, just because once you're on the airway, that is kind of yours. Nobody can breathe for him. So every time I squeeze that bag, he gets a breath. So I'm kind of tied to that airway for the duration of the call.
So when your colleagues are stripping the clothes off him, is your attention on the clothes or more on the airway in your job?
No, I'm maintaining the airway. If an endotracheal tube is dislodged for whatever reason, it is typically more difficult to get one in. So the integrity of that tube staying where it is,
Mary
not being
and Joseph.
dislodged, that is another key aspect of airway management.
As you're doing that, do you notice what anybody else, any of your colleagues are doing to help?
Just a reminder, it is Timmy Nuttall's job 100% to be monitoring and trying and keeping his airway, right? That is his job. He doesn't know an awful lot other than that, right, babes? That's what he's telling us. He's letting us know, I don't remember much, but you remember a very short split interaction with Karen Reed that said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. While your job was to be at the top of a resuscitative event for a fallen Boston police officer and trying to save his life at this time, coming upon a scene in the middle of a blizzard. Oh.
Like I said, they were working on clothing removal. I believe they were also getting intravenous and intraosseous access on this individual to begin medication administration. But again, I was quite focused on that airway, just making sure that it was maintained and we didn't lose any tube. We didn't lose any end tidal CO2, which is just another monitoring device that we use to confirm that tube is in place.
How quickly do you get to leave the scene and start moving towards the hospital?
I honestly couldn't give you an accurate estimate. It didn't seem to be out of the ordinary realm, though. We were able to move within the flow.
In addition to Mr. Keefe being very cold, did you notice any other injuries on him?
Mr. Who?
So I noted that he had a hematoma right above his right eye.
Oh.
Explain to us what that is.
Yep, it's just, for lack of a better term, it's just a big egg. He had a pretty good bump on.
Oh, he had a big egg on his eye. Wow, Timmy, an egg on Officer John O'Keefe's eye. When the Commonwealth's theory is that he was clipped on the side at 24.2 miles an hour in his arm, not on his face. Interesting. Tell me more.
Over his eye.
And you said his right eye.
Yes, sir.
Did you know how that hematoma was caused?
No, sir.
No idea?
No.
In addition to the hematoma above his right eye, what other injuries did you see?
There were also several scratches on his right arm, just below his shoulder and traveling down his right humerus. They terminated right about his right elbow, just above it.
Those scratches, have you also described them as abrasions?
Yes, sir.
Is there any difference in your mind, difference between scratches and abrasions?
Nope. These were they were deep and they were not bleeding, but they were notably deep.
Did you ever describe it as furrows?
I did.
And in describing those scratches, do you have any idea how they were caused?
No, sir.
Well, I do like that you stuck with that, Tim. Tim, I'll give you credit where credit is due. They are scratches. And the last time that I checked, I have never treated a patient who was what? Scratched by a spontaneously combusting polycarbonate taillight. Oh.
And did you notice any other injuries on Mr. O'Keefe?
No, sir. Those were the only ones that we noted. As I mentioned, we suctioned a little bit of blood out of the back of his airway as well. I believe it was blood, mucus, and saliva.
And this is huge. Take it in. Come close to me. Come close to me, babes. Okay. Timmy Nuttal tells us that when they were suctioning Officer John O'Keefe, that what came up in those secretions, it was blood, saliva, and mucus. What is notably missing? Vomit. Vomitus. And what was found on Officer John O'Keefe's boxers? Vomitus. Oh. Timmy. So if you didn't suction that out, then we know that Officer John O'Keefe was standing or sitting or something in an upright position in order for him to have vomitus in his boxes. So when did that happen, babe? These are the things we're putting together, the pieces that the Commonwealth has not. It is impossible that Officer John O'Keefe was clipped by a vehicle, thrown any duration of feet between, 6 feet and 60. Okay, thank you, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. When he was struck and hit his head, allegedly, on the murder ground, the frozen murder ground, if Officer John O'Keefe had vomited then, it would have only been localized to his mouth, his neck, and the ground surrounding. It is impossible that it would have gone south, down, towards his toes, his feet, and in his boxes. I rest my case. Thank you.
But those were the extent of the injuries that I was able to note.
Did you notice anything about the back of his head?
Actually, yes, I did. I apologize. There seemed to be a little bit of matted blood around in his hair around there. Really didn't see anything too obvious at the time.
Oh, come closer again. Sorry, I wasn't done, apparently. I'm sorry, Tim. You saw a little bit of matted blood. Just a little bit. Are you calling it scant? What are we calling it, Timmy? Because you realize that dura matter of Officer John O'Keefe's brain was exposed. You realize that that was a fatal blow, the final blow, whatever the blow may have been, and not that kind. But there was that catastrophic injury, 2.5-inch laceration to his skull, exposing brain. Okay? That wouldn't have caused a small amount of blood, and it wouldn't have just been a small section of his hair affected. You would have clearly noted that, as that's his cause of death, was blunt force trauma to his head. Tammy.
He was also placed in a cervical collar as well.
Yeah.
Following intubation, and that was kind of there just to maintain his cervical spine. But there was, like I said, there was noted to be a little bit of dried blood on the back of his head.
At some point, did you finally make your way with Mr. O'Keefe to the Good Samaritan Hospital?
Yes, sir.
And
Oh, sorry, Tim.
just share with us what happens when you get there.
So after we got there, we handed off care to Good Samaritan Medical's physicians and ER nurses. We were able to give a report to the physician of just basic what we've done, what we've given for medications. In my case, what he was intubated with and how he was being ventilated, how well he was being ventilated, and any other further pertinent information.
Ding, ding, ding.
Typically, we noted that Tony was the lead paramedic, so that is typically his. He kind of holds the room for a minute when we get in there and gives a big rundown, and then we back off and let Good Samaritan take over.
When the defendant told you that she hit him,
Jemmy, I'm going to need to give you a medal, babe. Giving you a little bit of medal. You get the star of the day, okay? And I don't know, that's not even a thing, but I'd like to make it one today. Jemmy says, did he even suction him before he did the intubation? Yep, they said he did, but Cindy Weiss hits us with this one too. How does one have dry blood in wet conditions? Riddle me that. Is this the upside down? Have we entered an alternate universe, my friends? Loveys, buckle up, because we were just told by Timmy Nuttal that there was a small amount of dried blood. Oh. But it had been snowing all night long. But Officer John O'Keefe's clothing was soaking wet. How did that happen?
did that have any significance to you?
No, sir.
Did it reconcile with the injuries that you saw before you that Mr. O'Keefe was suffering from?
No, sir.
And so at that point, was that information?
Well, and this is where I lost a little bit of respect. And I respected you previously, Timmy, but you really killed me on that one. If you heard Karen Reed say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, and that took it didn't change anything about your care management, that's odd to me. You hit him with what? Did you punch him? Did you hit him with your pocketbook? Did you hit him with your phone? Did you hit him with a fucking brick? A car? What'd you hit him with? I would have never thought car. I would have thought something in your hand as one hits. All right? But Timmy didn't even think about it. It did not play a part in his plan of care in his resuscitative effort. Oh.
Insignificant in light and perspective of your care?
Objection. Sustained.
Okay. What role did that information play in your care after the defendant told you she hit him? How did that contribute or not contribute to what you were doing?
It really didn't help at the time. Again, I wasn't able to chase anything down from that. I just kind of took it, noted it, and moved on with my aspect of the
Where'd you
cardiac arrest.
note it?
Have you had an opportunity at any point to see any video of that morning taken from any source, police car, dash cam?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce a video stream.
So this will be in evidence. There are agreements with some of the evidence already?
I believe there's no objection, but I don't want to speak for the defense.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't.
Yes, you can show it.
And
Hank.
for the record, if I may note, this is Cruiser 683 Stream 2. I'm sorry. It is Cruiser 683 Stream 2. I'm going to ask to play a portion of it that's relevant to Mr. Nuttal. Ms. Gillum, if you would please move to
Mr.
6:11
Nuttal.
a.m.
Oh, that sounds yucky. Don't get lost in the weeds with this, guys. We'll get back to the good stuff, but this has to be the placement of Timmy at the time that he
Please stop the
says
video.
Karen told him.
Mr. Nuttal, do you see the red lights reflecting on the left?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what those red lights are?
Presumably those would be ambulance 1.
Yeah. So not what you presume. Do you know what they are, sir?
And those are the lights for ambulance 1.
Do you see the weather conditions as it's depicted on this video?
Yes, sir.
Oh, as you stood outside, was it same or different to how it appears in this video?
That is the same.
When you look to the left, you see a straight line about an inch or two from the left of the screen. Do you know what that item is?
Sorry, sir. Repeat the question.
If you look to the left of the screen,
Yep.
you'll see a straight item from the bottom halfway up the picture. Do you know what that item is?
I
On the
believe
video?
that's a flagpole, sir.
Do you see a little bit of movement of bodies near that flagpole?
At the present time, no.
Okay. Could we continue to play, please?
Yep, there they are.
Do you hear Karen? Loveys, I hear Karen.
Could you stop, please? Did you see the first person in line now behind the person with in front of the person with the blue hat?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you back it up like 10 seconds?
Certainly.
Back it up.
Keep going, please. Do you know who that person is?
I believe that's me, sir.
Okay. Could you please continue? Is this your first assessment?
Yes, sir. This is ascertaining any signs of life or breathing.
Is that you approaching?
Yes, sir.
Could you stop, please? After informing your return, is that after Firefighter Flamati called you?
So right after that, when I turned around, that was when Tony said, "Hey, we're working this."
Okay. Please continue.
I hear Karen loud and clear.
Stop, please. And do you see a person come over to where you are?
Yes, sir.
Is it at that point or another moment when the defendant said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
It was right there, sir.
Could you continue, please? Can you stop for a moment?
Babes, I would just like to bring something to your attention. And I know that it probably doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I want you to say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I don't think I could even do that in one Mississippi, okay? You can hear Karen in distress. I mean, full-blown hysteria, panic. She is screaming at the top of her lungs. She is the only person I hear. And if you watch this clock at dash cam, it went from 6:11 to 6:12. And he says that Karen, he was able to stop what he was doing, look at her, and take in that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And she is back over at Kerry Roberts' friggin' SUV within one Mississippi. I don't know how that makes sense. Does it make sense to you? I have questions, Timmy.
There's no voices or noises from people coming through that audio. when you were there that night throughout the event, was it silent or were people speaking? Did you hear people speaking?
There was, as I noted when I got out of the truck, there was quite a bit of screaming. It was quite chaotic. The wind was also a factor, but there were people around. They were speaking within themselves too, but there was screaming, there was wind, and there was different side conversations as well.
And when you were working on Mr. O'Keefe, were you having conversations with your colleagues?
Yes, sir.
They're not picked up on the audio?
No, sir.
Please continue.
Okay, we just saw Karen with Officer Saraf.
Sir, are you still at the flagpole?
Yes, sir. I'm kneeling at the head of the patient.
Okay, now we're going to go to cross because this is where it gets fired.
Sort of realm.
Prior to today, how many times have you testified under oath
Hi, Kat.
concerning the incident on January 29th, 2022?
Once at a grand jury hearing and once last year.
All right. As a matter of fact, last year in this courtroom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you look over your testimony at the grand jury
Oh, what are we doing?
3 weeks ago during that meeting?
No, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. The gods of Wi-Fi, please come through. Okay, she is Etherneted. She is in the wall. Jack me up. Let's go.
What about the testimony from last year?
We did go over the testimony from last year. Yes, sir.
Were there any issues that Mr. Brennan or anybody else in that meeting brought up concerning any of your testimony?
There was just a question of how many times I hit him came up. It was 3 times.
And were you advised that that's not what you said at your testimony last year?
No,
Two
sir.
times?
What was that?
You said it was 2 times last year?
I honestly can't recall, sir.
Okay. But you just saw that, or you just read that and went over that 3 weeks ago.
I believe.
Okay, babes, I'm going to need a minute. I'm going to need to talk to Jesus because it feels like it's skipping and I don't know why and I hate it. So we're going to talk to each other. So Alan Jackson is about to have what I like to refer to as laser precision. And he, unfortunately, is finding Timmy here. Tiny Tim, if you will, sitting on the stand and saying, he goes, oh, I met with Hank Brennan 3 times, 3 weeks ago, a week afterwards, and last night. And we're going to find out that what they discussed every single time, apparently, was I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times. That is basically the only thing he thinks that he discussed. And he's telling AJ right now, I don't recall what I said in trial 1. I don't recall that I said it 2 times, but that's the one thing you talked about with Hank Brennan, Mass State Police, and a lady who I'm guessing was not Law McGlaw. I'm thinking it was the original petty paralegal in an ill-fitting pencil skirt. Because she follows him like white on rice, babe. Where you find Hank, you will find our box store bleach blonde. Okay, she seems very, very frustrated. She writes aggressively on a legal pad. How do I know this? I sat next to her. Yeah. Yep, she was behind the velvet rope. She was sitting right next to me past the duct tape.
So, yeah.
But you can't remember, as you sit here today, just 3 weeks ago, what y'all discussed in terms of how many times you previously testified that you heard the phrase, I hit him.
They previously testified possibly to 2, but it was 3.
was
Okay.
definitely
Your memory is
3.
clearer now than it was, for instance, a year ago when you testified.
Huh?
Repeat that?
Sure. Your memory is clearer now as you sit here that it was 3 times you heard that than it was a year ago when you testified that it was 2 times.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does your memory get better with time generally? Your memory. I'm not talking about the royal you. I'm talking about you.
In certain settings, I mean, there are certain things about different aspects that I recall better than others.
Okay. And does your tend to get or does it
Oh.
fade? That's my question.
It can fade over time, but it
Oops,
depends on
I'm
the
sorry.
context.
Let's see what is happening. What in the world? Where is Carmen Sandiego? Bear with me, babes. We're back. I don't know. Don't know what's happening.
But in this case, you're telling this jury that your memory is better now than it was a year ago when you testified about the exact same circumstance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You then met.
Okay, that face was one of who? Robert De Niro. Also, he is looking at Hank Brennan for a life vest. He is looking at Hank Brennan like Jack just swimming in the freezing water, and Hank Brennan is Rose. Move over, bitch. I need a spot too. Please get me out of this. Help me, Hank. Help.
About a week after that, which would be 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
Who'd you meet with then?
The same group.
And what did you discuss at that meeting?
Again, just prior testimony, and that was really the gist of it.
And tell me the specifics of the prior testimony that you.
Again, it was the how many times we had talked about saying I hit him. Again, it was 3 times, and then there was also the video that was just played for me.
Oh.
If I'll take the video in just a second. If y'all had met 3 weeks ago and you indicated to Mr. Brennan that it was actually 3 times, not 2 times that you heard the I hit him, why did you need to discuss it again a week later to verify the 3 times versus 2 times?
Not sure, sir. That was just the way that the conversation went. And I just, again,
He says, I like my things in 3. Okay? AJ, don't make it weird. I do everything in 3s. I need 3 meetings. I don't know. I washed my hair 3 times before this. And I also have 3 sets of pajamas with your face on it. What?
repeated what I said and what I remember from that morning.
Well, tell me about that conversation. Did Mr. Brennan say anything like, well, are you really sure that she said it 3 times?
It was that morning what was said to you. And I said, I hit him. That was how it went that morning, and that was how I remember it.
Okay. And did Mr. Brennan say, well, that's not consistent with how you've testified previously concerning the number of times you heard the I hit him phrase?
Yes, sir.
He did say that.
He wanted to, he acknowledged that I had said it twice. However, again, as I mentioned, it was said 3 times to me.
So now you do remember last year that you only said you only said that it was repeated twice.
One more
Correct?
time, sir.
So now you do recall that last year when you testified, it was inconsistent with how you're testifying today. Let me put it that way. Correct?
I believe I said I hit him twice on the stand last year.
Right. And if you're saying I hit him 3 times instead of twice, that Firefighter Nuttal is inconsistent with your testimony today. Correct? You
Yes,
agree
sir.
with that?
But that is how it went that morning, though, sir.
Okay, that's not my question. Let me see if I can do it again. So I'm asking you, if you testified last year
Yes, sir.
that you heard the phrase twice,
Mhm.
and now a year goes by and you're testifying in front of this jury this year that you heard it 3 times, those 2 statements are inconsistent with one another, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you talk at the meeting 2 weeks ago about any other inconsistencies with your testimony?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Well, you were there. And you
No.
say not to my knowledge, meaning
No, sir, we did not.
Okay. So it was just about the number of times that you heard the phrase, I hit him,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
All right. You cleared that up in the two meetings, 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago. What did you talk about last night?
Mostly just making sure that everything was as it had been. I mean, and by that, I mean, it was 3 times and that we were continuously making sure that everything was the way that it had happened that morning.
Everything was the way that Mr. Brennan wanted it to be.
No, sir.
Burn.
The way that it was in, I remember it and I recall it happening.
Okay. So he asked you 3 weeks ago about how many times you heard that phrase.
Yes, sir.
You changed your testimony at that time and said it was 3 times instead of 2 times. We agree on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then he called you a week later or met with you a week later and again reiterated, making sure you stick with that testimony that it's 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then last night he called you just to make sure one more time you're going to stick with that testimony that it was 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just a second. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, he got him. Oh, he got him. And this was the moment that Timmy said, "Ruh-roh, Shaggy." Okay. He goes, "Oh, yeah, he did ask me to make sure I was going to stick to that 3 times. And that you had to continue to call and go back and discuss the same shit, different day." Another person that is affected by the Canton Triangle. Okay, guys? Just letting you know, early onset dementia does occur in Norfolk County, specifically in Canton. I do not recall and or know the zip code, but we should find it out. File a fucking class action lawsuit because these people can't remember shit.
Okay. And when you talked last night, did you assure Mr. Brennan, nope. When we come in tomorrow, I'm certainly going to say it was 3 times, not 2 times.
No, sir. I told him I would tell my recollection of that morning.
Okay. And did you tell him that what my recollection is, I'm going to tell the jurors it was 3 times that I heard it?
That was what I heard.
Okay. Did you tell him that's what you were going to say today?
No, sir.
You didn't?
You didn't.
I told him I was going to tell him what I remembered from that morning.
Which was what?
Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. Yes, I know the Muffin Man who lives on Drury Lane. Is it not giving Lord Farquaad? Yes.
I hit him.
Oh.
Which is how many times?
3 times, sir.
And that's inconsistent with what?
I believe a year ago.
Okay. Now, you also talked about, I want to get back to the other thing that you talked about. You said that at some point, either in the meeting 3 weeks ago, the meeting 2
Jasmine, you angel face. I will be live on TikTok when? Either tonight or tomorrow morning. Yeah, babe. I'm back. I'm TikToking away. Yes.
weeks ago, or the meeting last night, you were shown a video.
Yes, sir.
Which one of those meetings were you shown a video?
I believe the second one.
Okay. Were you shown the entire video?
No, sir.
Just the clip that we saw?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did y'all talk about in relation to that video?
I love that AJ uses y'all. Is he from the South?
Mostly nailing down who was who in that video.
Okay.
Being the other personnel on scene, where I was. And that was about it.
I wonder if he would have really needed all of that to get to his points. I don't know.
He showed you the clip that you showed. He showed you the clip that you just seen on direct examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him where you were?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Brennan ask you to define exactly where it was that you supposedly heard this phrase, "I hit him"?
No, I was able to give that to him, sir.
Okay. And what you told him was that moment when you see my client walk over sort of to the left of the screen, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you defined that's the point at which she said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him."
Yes, sir.
And that's in response to your question. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You asked Do you know him?
Yes, sir.
And she repeated the phrase 3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Correct.
Okay. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Did Mr. Brennan ask anything else about that specific video?
No, like I said, he kind of asked me to point out different individuals on the scene, and that was really the extent of it.
You saw that same video last year when you testified, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't see it last year?
Not to my knowledge, no.
In preparation for your testimony last year?
I did not.
Did you see it before your grand jury testimony?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is the first time that you've seen it.
Yes, sir.
And you were able to establish for Mr. Brennan exactly when it was that you believe you heard the statement based on your view.
Okay, we got to go over
side of
here.
your sort of forehead above your right eyebrow, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Boop, boop. Right here. Sorry, babes.
Did Mr. Brennan bring that up during the meeting 3 weeks ago?
He asked about what I had meant when I said appropriately dressed.
So you did talk about something other than just, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, correct?
Yes, sir.
When I asked what y'all talked about, why didn't you tell us that?
To be perfectly honest, sir, I did not remember until right now.
So your memory is fading even after 3 weeks.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Got it. The fact is, well, let me ask you a different question. Did Mr. Brennan tell you what Mr. O'Keefe was actually wearing?
No, sir. Actually, I believe you did.
Last year, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
It's a short sleeve t-shirt and a little thin wool hoodie, right?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't wearing a hat.
No, sir.
Wasn't wearing, as a matter of fact, didn't even have a shoe on, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
And obviously, goes without saying, but I'm going to ask it anyway. That's not being appropriately dressed for the winter.
No, sir.
You indicated that you did notice certain injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's person.
Sir.
Once you got him back in the ambulance, obviously it's lighter, meaning brighter lights. You have more equipment in the back of the ambulance. You can better assess somebody's well-being, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated you had a, quote, much better picture of what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
Yes.
You noticed once in the back of the ambulance that he had trauma to the right side of his head.
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, when you were pointing at it, I'm doing that on purpose because you pointed to the right side of your sort of forehead above your right eyebrow, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The majority or the worst injury that Mr. O'Keefe suffered was actually to the back of his head, which you indicated you noted was quite matted with blood, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I want to talk about the injury to the right side of his head as distinct from the back of the head injury for just a second. Before I get to that in detail, let me ask you, because I just sort of want to cover the bases. You noticed the back of the head injury, correct? Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
You also noted the front right side of the head above the right eye, correct?
We did.
You noted some injury to his eyes. They looked blackened,
Yes, sir.
but primarily the right eye was blackened.
Yes.
And there was a golf ball size egg, I think you put it over his right eye, often called a hematoma.
Correct.
Golf ball.
And you also noted when you
size.
got his shirt off that he had scratches along the right side of his arm. Is that right?
Sir.
You indicated on direct examination today that you believe those scratches ended where? Meaning from top to bottom? And I'm not using anatomically correct
No.
language. So from shoulder to wrist, where were the scratches that you noted?
There were several. As I noted, they were on his right humerus area.
Tell me what a humerus is.
They right on.
Bicep.
Look right about here.
Okay.
No, a little further, like between where your bicep and your tricep kind of meet.
Got it.
Right about in there.
Okay. And what did the scratches look like?
They were deep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have breaking news right now? Oh, no. That was that was the last couple weeks ago, right? With Rafferty retiring. And it was when she was at the select board meeting. Oh. No, just kidding. H-bag. Okay, perfect. It's new news. Oh. Did it happen right now? Today is Tuesday. Is it Canton Select Board night? Oh. Oh my. What? Oh, babes, when I tell you The dominoes are falling. Clutch your pearls and clench your butts, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. And I'm not going to say LOL like I'm Chief Helena Rafferty at the end of No Witness Tampering. LOL. Because it's not funny. LOL. Because it's a murder trial for fallen police officer John O'Keefe. And Karen Reed is now fighting for her life in round 2. I don't find anything funny about it. And I don't think that you've done 25 years, Helena. So I don't know how you're going to get your pension. And also, Helena, we got some problems with your pedestrian collision that you actually did. Remember that? Remember in the middle of the day when you struck an elderly man in a crosswalk and he's had multiple surgeries? Oh, the tangle web we weave. Oh, her house was on the market, Amanda. I don't know if it's sold. You know who broke that story? Dave Cullinane. Oh, just kidding. Okay, I lied. 36 years. Okay, she was going to get the pension. But you probably should have done this. Here's the thing, Helena. You would have been all set. You would have been just sliding into your golden years, chilling, relaxing, shooting some b-ball outside of the school. That's what you would have been doing. If you'd done this 3 years ago, you still would have been at 33 years. I don't understand why you made this choice. Because since Berkey retired and you took over, you inherited a shit show. You inherited a culture of, just a boys' club. And Helena, it's been disappointing seeing you as a woman. And I know that all women don't have to support women. I get it. But like, as the first female chief of police in Canton, I just would have hoped better. And your ability to not see the problems here or acknowledge that there was such wrongdoing is unfortunate, because, you have to take accountability from the top down. And I'm sorry that Chief Berkowitz didn't have to have accountability for what he allowed perpetuate and go on. But I imagine that the room is closing in, Lovey. Make good choices. Oh my.
Infamously referred to them as furrows, but they were quite deep. You could tell that there had been some material removed.
Okay. Material meaning skin and flesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Some biological material.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
Biological material was removed from the furrows, the scratches on Officer John O'Keefe's right forearm, yet no biological material was found on 46 pieces or 45 pieces of polycarbonate taillight. That is huge.
And were they parallel? Meaning they were going in the same direction?
Yes.
Were there any scratches below the elbow?
There were, yes. There were. They were not as significant as the ones on the upper arm, but they were noted.
Okay, and those were parallel as well?
Yes, sir.
And they looked like scratches to you? That's how you described them?
They did.
Last year, when you described those scratches, you curled your fingers up, exposing sort of the nails, and drew it across your biceps. Is that what you were using to describe what the sort of scratches look like?
I just kind of used that as a landmark, to be honest with you, sir. It was just kind of how I quantified it in my mind.
Okay, but what you did was you did this motion.
Yes, sir.
As you said, there were furrows. And remember, there was an embarrassing moment for me.
Both of us, sir.
I couldn't understand the word furrow because of the accent.
Heather G., I apologize deeply. I'm sorry, Lovey, and I will not allow a shot show to continue. I will watch my mouth because it is not after dark.
Right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the hematoma above the right eye for a second. That's basically damage to subdural blood vessels that causes acute swelling, right?
Correct.
And a very common cause of a hematoma over one's eye could be being hit or punched in the face. We talked about that.
There could be several causes for hematoma, such as that.
Obviously. I mean, it could be a golf club, a baseball bat, or it could be a fist.
It could be.
Okay. We talked about that last year. I asked you if the injuries that you saw on Mr. O'Keefe's face, including the laceration over his right eye, was consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation, and you said it was consistent with a physical altercation as well.
Excuse me?
Objection to referring to past testimony before a question is asked.
So sustained.
Sure. Do you remember a laceration, in addition to the hematoma, about a 0.8 centimeter laceration over his right eye?
I do.
Tell me what I'm using a word that maybe not everybody understands. I didn't understand it when we first started this thing. What's a laceration? What's the difference between that and a cut?
A laceration is they're basically the same thing. A laceration is just a deep cut.
Okay. So it's a parting of the skin.
Correct.
In other words, where the skin separates.
Yes.
And that can be from blunt force trauma, meaning something hits it rather than cuts it.
You can get
Sustained.
What are some of the causes of lacerations?
Look at his face.
you can get a laceration as you noted, blunt force, but you can also get a laceration from a slashing movement, from a stabbing. I mean, that is still a laceration.
Okay, so you can get it from blunt force or stabbing.
What about hematoma?
That is primarily caused by blunt force trauma.
Right. And the hematoma and the laceration were right next to each other, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated last year, or let me ask you this way. Is that consistent or inconsistent with physical altercation?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
I could not say, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Well, last year, you indicate you can't answer that. Last year, you did answer it, didn't you?
Objection.
So I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
Okay, and now we're going to go to lunch. Because why? We're hungry. Guys, how old am I when I start thinking that these interludes are like a jam? Ready? Let's take a minute. We could do like an interpretive dance to this. Catch me in a TJ Maxx near you. Court will resume at 1:40. JK, we're heading over. Hey, OnlyFan. Where you been, bae? Gonna put me to bed later, OnlyFan. Oh.
Is that right?
Okay. He's kneeling to your left at the time, doing chest compressions. That's when you indicate that Miss Reed walked over and made the statement.
Correct.
And Kelly was there as well?
Yes, sir.
Kneeling right beside all three of you as Firefighter Flamati was giving the chest compressions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that the statement was in response to a question that you asked of my client. Do you know him?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Right?
Correct.
And she responded to you with the phrase that you've used. I hit him.
I hit him.
Right.
Mm.
So it's absolutely clear in your mind when that statement
Okay. Hold, please. Come on. Hit that play button.
was made. You were knelt down over Mr. O'Keefe. Firefighter Flamati
Oh.
was doing the CPR, and Kelly was with both of you when you posed that question.
Yes, sir.
Take your time.
It's a very detailed memory.
Yes, sir.
You indicated, Mr. Brennan, that sticks out in your mind. Is that right?
Does.
But that's not at all what you told Trooper Proctor on February 8th, just 10 days after this incident.
Oh.
I don't recall what I told Trooper Proctor.
I thought your memory got better with time.
I don't recall that meeting. I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally don't recall anything that was discussed in that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed the case. but I don't, and in his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, "I hit him" one time to another female that she was talking
Yes.
to. Correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no
Yes,
memory
it
of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Did you say that her statement was an answer to a question posed by the female or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th that what you heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John? Your words, praying over John.
I don't recall ever saying that.
Oh, and he is very offended by this. I don't know why the thought of a prayer really sent our Timmy boy over the edge. He was like, absolutely not today, Jesus. In a boom. Okay. That's a little weird. I wouldn't get that offended if someone said, I did you say someone was praying? Because I'm pretty sure, listen, there's a lot of things about former Trooper Michael Proctor, I would say, but like randomly coming up with Nuttal said she was praying over John, that seems odd. But so does everything else. Who am I?
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
What the fuck was that? Did he just have a stroke? Oh my God. He just made very odd facial movements. You okay, pal? You good? I've never seen someone do that. Oh, there it is. Just kidding.
I don't recall that meeting.
Okay.
I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally don't recall anything that was discussed in that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed the case, but I don't, and in his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, "I hit him" one time
Oh.
to another female that she was talking to. Correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no memory of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Did you say that her statement was an answer to
Guys, I'm not trying to be a dramatic gay bitch right now, but like, is he going through it right now? These are not like full-blown strokes, but he might be having an actual TIA. I mean, he is actually wording something to whom I don't know. Okay? And he's just like, it's like he's a ventriloquist. He's the puppet. Who's the ventriloquist? You're supposed to be speaking when the mouth moves. And this is, I've only noticed it in the last couple of minutes. I feel like maybe it's anxiety, but that's
to
interesting.
a question
Something is
posed
happening.
by the female or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th that what you heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John? Your words, praying over John.
I don't recall ever saying that.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Hello? Hello? Is it me? Am I the problem? Possibly. Oh gosh, I went backwards. Oh Lord, I am the problem. Sorry, guys.
You did see it in his report, though.
Oh, I just did the
Sustained.
whole thing again.
You've admitted under oath that your memory of the events at that time, from that time frame, January, February 2022, is faulty, correct?
No, sir.
In your April 2024, it's April 30th, 2024 testimony from last year. You were asked whether or not your memory was a little faulty, and your answer was absolutely, correct?
Could I have a page and number,
Where is
please?
that, Mr. Jackson?
Volume 8, page 151, lines 14 through 16. Lines 14 through 16. I'll just allow counsel to get that up.
Lines 14 to 16.
If we could pose the entire question and give content to it, please.
Okay.
Is this important? I don't
May I?
recall.
Yeah, so do you intend to show the whole question?
The whole question that I asked and his answer, yes.
All right, and I'll give you the opportunity on redirect, Mr. Brennan, if it's not. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say for everyone who is offended by the shower curtain of unknown origin that found itself behind Judge Beverly Cannoni today, let us pray. Okay? Let us pray for the potential that Jim McDermott found himself on Amazon Prime, late night scrolling. Okay? He was in an Ambien dream. And when he awoke, he found that instead of buying shears for the courtroom in a dignified way, he had purchased one shit blue color shower curtain and hung it up for all to see. Okay? He also wrote it off on his taxes. Thank you.
Is it true that in answer to the question, quote, so it's fair to say your memory is a little bit faulty as it pertains to that time frame? Your answer was absolutely. Correct?
From last year?
What you testified to last year about conversations that you had with Trooper Proctor around February 8th of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree, as you sit here, that your memory is still faulty about your conversation with him.
With
correct?
Trooper Proctor? Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So you're not saying you didn't say that the statement was made to a woman, correct?
Objection.
Are you saying that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. And you're also not saying that you didn't say to Trooper Proctor that you saw Karen Reed praying over John O'Keefe.
Objection.
No, he goes, I am saying that. Yeah, okay. He knows what he knows. Now let's hear Hank.
Started at
get-
about,
Oh, the seafoam
I want to
panel.
say 6:55. Mr.
What? Who are
Yes, sir.
we?
Let's play the video forward for just a second.
Oh, we're playing the video forward. Let's play it back. Okay.
Mr. O'Keefe's on the scoop stretcher and he's being transferred to the.
Oh, we're going to do this just because it's a good order of operations. Oh, no, we don't need to do this one. We're going to go back because then Judge Cannoni says, no, we're not playing it again. She's like, damn it, kids. Why don't any of you listen to me?
But
I'm your mother.
that was not my focus at that time.
Okay. And during those conversations,
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's get Hanky
Uncertainty
because he
about
was
clothing.
real angry. Oh, do.
to the conversation with Trooper Proctor, or were you suggesting you didn't remember what happened that morning?
I don't remember the interview with Trooper Proctor.
He doesn't remember.
I
shit.
remember it happened. I don't remember the substance of what was discussed entirely. I remember we discussed that morning, but
Do you know if that conversation was recorded or just a conversation between you and the trooper?
I do not know if it was recorded.
You asked questions. I want to ask you about questions on Mr. O'Keefe, and you mentioned that there was some type of blood clot.
The answer is yes, Kate. 100% yes. Oh, you dirty dog. I am. Oh, ho, ho, ho. I got excited thinking of the seafoam blue curtain appearing in Auntie
Yes,
Bab's
That was
video.
not the time frame in which she said that to me.
Well, that was the time.
Oh, do.
Do you have something for the court reporter to?
Wait a second. Who are we?
Flamani gets down on his knees, begins.
Where is Hank?
Do you need to see the?
Is there anything that would refresh your memory about what you had said about clothing?
Objection.
Ask a different question first.
You had mentioned that you had some difficulty about clothing. Do you remember what you had previously said?
I remember there was some difficulty of getting the individual's fingers through clothing just because they were so cold. They were difficult to manipulate. Just they really was not conducive to getting clothing off easily.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't hear him say that last time. Also, babes, just wanted to let you know I was not having a TIA in the time that it just took me to find this spot. Sorry about that. It was just a boomer moment.
You met with me 3 times.
Yes, sir.
I had not met you before any of your prior testimonies, had I?
No, sir.
Do you remember meeting with me and discussing this case with me?
I do.
Do you remember me asking you to tell me what you remember?
I do.
Do you remember what I told you about testimony when you come into court?
Oh, look at this.
Yes, sir.
What did I tell you?
I remember we discussed that just tell the truth.
Did I tell you that it doesn't matter? There is no side. Doesn't matter if it helps or hurts, that you just tell the truth?
Sustain.
Did I ever suggest to you that you should stick to a story?
No, sir.
Did I ever suggest to you you should offer your testimony in any certain way?
No, sir.
When I talked to you, did I ever ask you to say anything about your testimony to this jury?
No, sir.
Other than what?
Speak to the jury.
Did I need to tell you to tell the truth?
No, sir.
And in telling the truth, did the defendant say to you, I hit him, I hit him?
I'll allow it.
Yes, sir. 3 times.
And in fact, do you remember, in addition to her saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, when you asked her the question, kneeling down over John O'Keefe's body, do you remember if you ever...
Pokey, that was just Karen stating, oh gosh, I recall it was just a clip, a random clip, and it didn't sound, she was like, oh, I was thinking to myself, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? But people have told her so many times that she even questioned, did I actually say that at all?
talked about other times that she said it, not to you?
I do not.
Okay,
The answer is I do not. Next question.
okay.
Pick me, choose me, love me.
Do you remember testifying previously in this case?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Wait, I have to get him to say, oh, come on. Jesus, for the love of God, Hank, just do your job.
Conversations in the background. Did you hear her talk
Here we
about
go.
that same issue again?
I believe she said it several times, but the 3 times she said it to me were what stuck out to me.
Okay. And when she said it to other people, it wasn't directly to you?
No, sir.
So watch the form of the question, Mr.
And when
Brennan.
she said it to-
Stating the objection.
When she said it to other people, do you know who she said it to?
I do not.
Oh, babes, we live. Okay, come closer. Come closer. It's time to talk all the shit. Listen to me. Timmy, put your head down. Timmy, Put your head down. What the fuck are we doing right now? Pardon my French. Timmy. So now you're telling me, babe, like you are busy. You're a busy bee. We know this. Oh, we know other busy bees too, just saying. But you were so busy literally attempting to resuscitate Officer John O'Keefe on January 29th, 2022, that you happened to, in just a span of one Mississippi, babe, hear Karen Reed say to you 3 times, knock 3 times, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, allegedly. But now you want me to believe, good sir, that you heard in the distance Karen continue to say, I hit him. But yet it was never picked up on any dash cam. Oh, Timmy. Timmy.
Allow it. So the answer is I do not.
I'm sorry.
Do you remember when she said it other times who she said it to?
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for this.
Oh, he's done. He's done. He's about to pull a Guarino and be like, fucking kill me. All right. Okay. Now?
Then
Oh, JK. The sidebar has
To
ended.
me,
you didn't clarify that, oh my gosh, she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off, screaming, I hit him to everybody else under the sun.
it was, again, it was behind me in the background
Right?
as I was providing patient care. Again, that was not my focus.
Okay, so you didn't really hear her say anything in the background because you weren't focused on that, right?
Oh.
I remember hearing a generalized commotion in the background, but again, that was not our focus.
So generalized commotion is very different
Yeah.
than hearing her say, I hit him to other people, correct? You'd agree with that.
Yes, sir.
So what you actually heard was the chaos and the commotion of a chaotic scene, correct? In the background,
Yeah.
In the background.
as you focused on your patient care, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not specific words coming out of my client's mouth, correct?
To the question that I posed, do you know him?
You're right. We're off that question.
Okay.
That question, I got it.
Yes, sir.
Triple I hitters.
Correct.
But with regard to what Mr. Brennan just asked you, the generalized commotion.
Triple I hit him.
In the background, you didn't hear any specific words coming out of my client's mouth, did you?
I heard I hit him,
How did you know it was
but again,
Karen
it
if
was
she's
in the
behind
background and it
you?
was not my focus.
Well, why didn't you say that on direct? That's kind of an important point. That's why you're here.
Again, if it was neglected on my part, it was not intentional.
Not intentional to neglect that part for the jurors on direct examination.
No, sir.
Certainly not intentional to neglect that part of your testimony on cross-examination.
No, sir.
But you decided to bring it up on on recross examination when Mr. Brennan is asking you questions again, correct?
It was asked of me. Yes,
And
sir.
it was after, of course, that your new statement
Oh.
that you've never testified to before, ever, is this generalized commotion included a bunch of I hit hims in the background, correct?
Sir.
And that comes after you saw the video that clearly shows that when you describe having heard this statement, my client was nowhere around you, correct?
Nope.
That segment of the video that you showed me,
Yes.
that was not the time frame in which she said that to me.
Well, that was the time frame when Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
He was doing CPR down prior to that as well.
Really?
Oh.
Sir.
Well, you just testified that you saw him standing up in a big yellow jacket and then kneel down and start giving CPR. We just watched that video. Correct?
But again, the clip of the video that you showed me,
Right.
that was not the segment in which he said that to me.
Well, that's what you're saying now, but what I'm asking is you described a very distinctive scene, a very, very specific scene.
Yes, sir. I remember it vividly.
She said that I hit him phrase when Flamati was down giving CPR and you were kneeling down giving airway support and he was doing rhythmic CPR chest compression.
Yes, sir. That's what happened.
Rhythmic
And then I showed
CPR.
you that very scene, didn't I?
Yes, you showed me that clip prior to that.
I showed you the very scene that you described where Flamani gets down and starts chest compressions and never stops until the gurney is taken off the frame of the camera to the end. Isn't that what I showed you?
That is,
Sure. I don't know if I can do it again. I showed you the scene where firefighter Flamani gets down on his knees, begins chest compression.
You sure did, AJ. Now, wait a sec. Come on.
we did.
And at no point
Oh,
at that time or after
oh.
did my client even approach you, did she, in that clip?
She did.
What?
Objection.
That's so ridiculous.
Just a question.
Sure.
He goes, what? Because they showed, babes, when Karen is going across and it's the one Mississippi, right? It's that she is just running because Karen is frantic. She is hysterical. She is not standing in one place long enough. And I don't understand how somebody would have been able to make that eye contact, look at someone, register what they're saying, and hear the I hit him's times 3. Okay. It's a little bit too far for me to be able to get there. And I have no problem with any, clearly, none of us do, any paramedic, any firefighter, any even of Canton police that were there, Mulaney, Saraf, he tried to pull a fast one, Saraf. But Lanka is something, but none of these reports, none of them included Karen saying anything like that. So I don't believe that any of these guys, the initial batch of people that were going in, had any part of a conspiracy, a cover up, in my opinion. But Timmy Nuttal had to take it on the chin today because he was saying that he is remembering things, and how I have always believed it was that he heard it from a female. And unfortunately, I always believed that that female was Katie McLaughlin. That Katie said that she heard it, and then that's where Flamati and Nuttal thought that they heard it because a female did say it to them. It was in the back of that rig when they were providing treatment and resuscitative efforts to Officer John O'Keefe.
Sure.
Oh, it's happening again.
Do you need to see the that clip again?
Yes, please.
We're not going to show the video.
Judge Canody says no.
Videos. Which one is marked?
Can we get anybody? Can anybody say, please stop
See
doing
the
that?
that clip again?
Yes, please.
Oh,
We're not going to show it.
yep. She says, no, thank you.
All right. A couple more questions on this. The video that Mr. Brennan showed you,
Yes, sir.
and you pointed to and said, oh, that's the time when she walked over and said the statement.
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
I do.
Firefighter Flamati was not even kneeling down giving CPR, was he at that point?
No,
The answer is yes or no.
no.
Okay, he was not. Later, as the video continues to run, at some point, we see Firefighter Flamati enter the screen, kneel down in that bright, reflective yellow jacket, and begin CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had previously
Babe, his face is a show in and of itself. Okay. This is a wild ride. I was listening earlier. This is a lot.
said that when you heard the statement and she walked over to you, it was when Firefighter Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at no point, you'll agree with me, we just played the video, at no point after he started giving CPR did my client come anywhere near. Isn't that what the video showed?
That was the segment that you showed me.
They
You
get in the weed.
indicated
Okay. But now, okay, babes, now we're not going to do, it was incredible. And this is a masterclass by Alan Jackson. Wonderful work today. I think that Timmy Nuttal didn't do himself any favors, unfortunately. And now we go into Kerry Roberts. There is only one part that I want to go over because all that matters really is cross, right? But there is one specific change, one specific different thing that I noted, and my ears perked up like a happy little puppy. I was like, oh, what are we doing? And it's regarding who directed the three girls, the Trace Amigas at one point, the three girls to return to 34 Fairview. The story has changed just a small bit, and that is in the account of Kerry Roberts. So let's get into it. Let me find the
See
place.
if there was an accidents or maybe something happened, they brought him in. And I spoke to the officer who said, no,
Oh, she spoke to the officer. We all know who that is. Goody. And we know this clip because we've listened to it many times together.
Called any hospitals?
I don't know
Okay, no one cares. Let's
why.
do it.
And at some point, Karen said, my taillight. And I looked and Jen she must have had the brake done because you could see that there was missing taillight.
When you say missing taillight, was it merely cracked?
No, there was a piece missing.
Could you see that as you were parked right behind the defendant's SUV or Lexus?
She must have been applying the brakes because you could see it, but there was a lot of snow.
A lot of snow packed, but there was a piece missing. Yep, she did this the last time, but that's okay.
When you saw that the taillight had a missing piece, did you say anything?
No,
Did you think anything of it?
no.
How long were you parked behind the defendant's Lexus while it was parked in?
Oh, that's not it. Hold on.
I pulled out of the driveway, Jen pulled out, and I followed behind all the way to John's house. And at some point, Karen said, I left him at Waterfall. And I heard Jen say, no, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's.
Was anything else said about the broken taillight?
No,
You followed Miss McCabe?
yes.
Well, well, well. That's a little bit different. Trial 1.0, babes. If you remember, when Jennifer McCabe got up on the stand, she told us that Karen Reed was desperate. She was just foaming at the mouth and demanding that they went back to 34 Fairview. Kerry Roberts said that it was actually Jen who initially said that she had seen Karen and John, her car, well, Karen's vehicle, rather, not Karen and John, but Karen's vehicle at 34 Fairview the night before. And then they both wanted to go over. But this is interesting because it appears to me, I'm just saying, that Kerry Roberts is now taking a stance that is, Karen Reed believed that she had brought Officer John O'Keefe, the last time she remembered seeing him, allegedly, was at the waterfall. And who in the actual fuck was the person who said, JK, you were at my sister's? And if we recall and go back to a clip that I have handy dandy and ready to go, potentially, we're going to remember who directed both Kerry and Karen when they were approaching 34 Fairview that fateful morning.
Initially, when you left, who, if anyone, left with you?
I left with Karen Reed.
And as you're leaving in your car, you're driving, is that correct?
Yes.
Where's Miss Reed in the car at that point?
Say it again.
Where was Miss Reed in your car at that point?
In the passenger seat.
And as you were leaving, what, if anything, were the two of you doing or talking about, or what was going on when you left that first night?
As we were leaving, she was saying to me, if anything happens to John, I'm going to kill myself. You need to take care of these kids.
And how did
Just kidding. That is not the correct clip, and I don't know where it is. But it was a clip that Kerry is saying, I didn't know how to get to 34 Fairview. I don't know Jen's sister. So she says, Jen is giving them the directions, and she gives her the specific landmark of the trees and the what? Flagpole. Jennifer McCabe gave Kerry Roberts and Karen Reed, subsequently, because she's in the back seat, the landmark of the flagpole while they were going and driving on Fairview Road. So you wonder why Karen Reed looked at the flagpole before she almost kicked the door in and was about to, drop kick someone in the neck to get out of that car. She had a landmark, babes. And she didn't come up with it herself. Kerry Roberts was driving. She's looking at the road. And to think that Karen could just look over, Jen tells her right past that flagpole. And whose tragic scene do we come upon right past that flagpole? Officer John O'Keefe. Wow. Okay. So I did also want to say, Kerry, I love your look this year. And I am interested in seeing how you are going to do in cross-examination tomorrow. Because if Alan Jackson, who allegedly, my chat told me Alan Jackson would be crossing you, I hope that they take a gentle approach because you are a nice lady. And, I think that you do love John. And I think that you maybe, just maybe, were seen like as someone who could be brought into the fold to do things and just say things to go along to get along too. Unfortunately. Okay, remove that. Now, okay, who am I? Look at this, babes. All right. Let us do, oh my gosh, stop it. You all so pretty. Oh, thank you so much, Taylor Bishop, for becoming a new YouTube member consensually at Nurse Kim's house. Do you like this background, babes? It has a Steffi. Look at that little Steffi. I couldn't figure out how to do it the right way, but it's there. And what a day. What a day. What a long day. Also, I feel like it can't go we can't be doing this with every paramedic. We can't take all of this time for one witness, right? Like, but at the same breath, Alan Jackson still needs to be able to, and the entire defense team, to impeach, because every single witness that gets up that did not document Karen Reed saying I hit him, or things that are not consistent with a vehicle or a pedestrian strike, it needs to be brought to light. This needs to be the end for Karen's portion, in my opinion, of seeking justice for Officer John O'Keefe. I think that actually acquitting Karen of all charges is in part contributing to justice for Officer John O'Keefe. And I will pray for him. I will pray for his family, and I pray for Karen and the Reeds as well. Every night. Okay, Mrs. Parks in the house. I need a breakdown from you, Kimmy, and from Tiny Jesus. He's in the boom, babe. He's right with us. He's always with us. Is your CTV appearance on YouTube? I need to see it. We are in the air. I love your face. Thank you for the end of day breakdown. AJ's opening was fire. Clutching our pearls and butts with you. Love you, babe. Oh, I don't know where the court TV lives. Like the appearance. I have no idea. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to watch it. It was so bad. For me, just because you know how I am. I'm an oddball and I can't stand it. Ugh. I was on the telephone. I called in. I phoned a friend. I phoned in. Oh, when I phoned in, I lost all coordination. I became Timothy Nuttal. I was talking to myself, not through the phone. It was Vinnie Politan. He just took me for a loop. I didn't know who I was. You see that man? He's got piercing eyes. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I get if I can find a clip for you, Poxy, I will send it to you. I love your face. Common Sense Investigator said the opening is exactly what the jury needed. I agreed. I starred that because you are so smart and pretty. And I think that that was absolutely a to the point, a really concise, reasonable doubt, botched investigation, and really harping in on former trooper Michael Proctor and also the medical and the physics. Science, data, physics, no investigation. Equals, what is it doing, guys? This is what we ask ourselves. I don't know. I was just wondering, is this going to free Karen? Yup. Good job, AJ. You sure did, babe. You did good work. Okay, now back. Where is she? Who is she? Oh, where does the thing go? Whoop, doopsie doos. Okay, we're hiding it. Now, we are back. And Meatball Morrissey Sketty Stain said they try scrubbing the video. What? Oh, look at the timestamp so you don't lose your place. Then click on the red dot, slide it back and forth. I'm sorry, Meatball Sketty Stain. Do you know who me? You think I'm going to scrub a video and I don't lose my place? Then click on the red dot, slide it back. I stand by old school Nintendo logic. Maybe that makes sense, but I have no idea what you're just talking in gibberish to me right now. You're Sketty Staining me all over town right now. I apologize. Go back and then, somebody told me that I could actually just go forward 10 seconds, but it's not like the phone on the desktop. I don't know how to do that. Can I do that? Oh, I'm clicking. No. Oh. Oh, where am I? Am I gone? Okay. All right. I found myself. All right, babe. But thank you so much. I wicked appreciate you. You're the best in the whole wide world. And then this is my mission. Attorney Little says, girl, you blinded us last night on court TV. Came in looking like an angel. That cop that argued he don't notice no human bodies laying around. No, he didn't. He laid down on a very dark night. And I thought that it was interesting that he thought that that was a normal comparison when it clearly isn't because of the snow. The snow was the other X factor, right? Thank you so much, Lovey. I appreciate you. And Norman, thank you. You were the one who brought this to my attention. The event data recorder, the EDR, is different than Toyota TechStream, right? See? Norman. Thanks, Norm. And it finds out what happens when an accident has happened. And yes, it's sometimes called the black box. Boom, boom. She figures it out. You're the best. Then we have Stephanie Flynn. Hey, babe. Court is a sham. Watch the charges and read. They already stated and sowed seed of guilt to the jury by saying is guilty of second-degree murder and not first degree. They should have said charged with. Stephanie Flynn, I didn't even. Oh, that is not good. I don't know how we would even go about that if it wasn't called out when it happened. If it was an opening, then, I don't know how that just went away. But thank you so much. I would appreciate you. Who said this? Is Kerry posting on X? Please tell me. Somebody in the chat said, isn't she supposed to be sequestered as a witness? She's already commenting about Nuttal. I did not know that this was happening ever. So if there is deets on that, like, that's huge. And then Pierre says, Nuttal, hot under the collar and awkward, mostly on cross. Totally agree, Pierre. Thank you so much for being here, Levy. And then we have Carla FKR says, my Kimmy, thank you for all you do. Love your face. Free Karen Reed. Carla, thank you for being here because this is unhinged most times, okay? But it's a free flowing, we're just trying to do what we're doing. We know our lane, and I know the medical. I can definitely assess that. And, it's a little bit turbulent. It's a little bit awkward myself, but I appreciate you forever showing up. And you've been here for 3 months. Oh, stop it. I told everyone last night, if you've been here longer than a month, please, I love you, set you free. There's no reason for you to have a membership to my house, okay? And Raw said, where do I email? I don't know what that's about, babe. I was just going to ask you, what do you need an email about? And Renew My Faith, $5. I love that handle, love. He said, Kim, check out Darcy's post. If anyone's got access to the defense team, Timmy's sister is friends with Caitlin Albert. She was in her wedding. Oh. That seems a little problematic, no? I will check out Darcy's post, my love. Thank you so much. And I love, again, that handle. You've renewed my faith, Levy. And my court, hi. I love my doggy. Look at our baby. Said someone should tell Hank he should have put his pencils to good work and did his homework the last several months. He doesn't even know the date this all happened. He really said he wanted to bring him back to the morning of January 22nd. Oh. How about I swear to goodness gracious, and I listened to it 3 times this morning on the disaster stream, all right, that I refuse to acknowledge actually occurred. It's in my members only. That he said that Karen Reed stopped her vehicle at the edge of the property at 12:34:33. And if Karen Reed stopped her vehicle at the edge of 34 Fairview at 12:34:33, then she couldn't have struck Officer John O'Keefe at 12:32, babe, because she was going forward, not backwards. And she also did what? Connected to the home Wi-Fi at One Meadow at 12:36 a.m. And Kevin, I don't care, Mr. Yellow Cottage, Kevin, my feral cottage man. How can you explain that? You've told me that you could get there in 4 minutes. It's a 7-minute drive. You've told me you could get there in 4. But I don't know if you could make a 7-minute drive in 2 minutes. What are you going to say? What do you say, Kevin? Please let me know. And Mary Malaki says, Law and Crime, fast forward to 6:25. Kerry announced her and Aaron. Kerry Roberts is announced and Aaron talks to Paul. Then not there. Oh, this is about Aaron leaving. Oh. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for letting me know. I will check that out. I don't know how to add that back on right now because I took it off the screen. But that is sad. I'm sad that Erin left, but I think she was emotional today too. It's very hard. And Meredith O'Neill, oh, lovey, said, hi, Nurse Kim. I'm doing a giveaway dinner for Out with Auntie Deb and me. Donate $10 to Karen Reed's defense fund to enter, or 3 for $25. Oh, I'm sorry. Meredith and Auntie are going out to supper with somebody. Oh, that's cool. That's so cool. I think I'm going to enter. I'm going to totally enter. How did I not get included in this? You little shiitakes having a date without me. Just kidding. Maybe I'll win. I love yous. So that is a dinner all of us should want to attend, babes. And then Heather G says he's simultaneously got a goose egg on the front of his face and a 2-inch gash on the back. Oh, got it. Murder ground. Oh, Heather, he's got a goose egg. I mean, listen, all right. Are we saying a medium egg? No, babe, a goose. Hit him with the goose egg on the front of the face. And then you know that Hank Brennan says, well, it's all on one side. It's all on one side. Did you see the bruise on his knee? No, Hank, I know this is hard for you. I understand you're not a medical professional. The bruise you're referring to is from his what? Intraosseous line. Uh-huh. It's not a bruise. But thank you. Thank you, Heather. And then we have a Thank you, Sue. First witness impeached, next one tomorrow and more. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. And Pilar says, December 2005, I was 24. I looked at my mom, and something strong said to me that she was going to die. There was no reason for me to think that. She was gone 2 months later. Oh, I'm so sorry, Pilar. That is really heartbreaking. And I'm so sorry you went through that at such a young age, at 24 years old. And unfortunately, in my life, I have had less than a handful of times of that feeling of impending doom and knowing that something is wrong. Like waking up at 3:00, it's like the witching hour or whatever, like, between 3 and 4 sometimes. And it's pure panic. And you don't know what. It's just that you're crawling out of your skin in my experience, and there's an elephant sitting on my chest. And every time it has happened in my life, I have lost someone, either a patient or a family member. And I knew without knowing exactly, what had occurred. It was just, it's overwhelming. And I hope that you don't have any more of those experiences in your life. And Hank's Trapper Keeper says, Kim, I'm going to the event on May 1st, and I'm going to wear my Nurse Kim pearls. I'm an NP, and Officer John O'Keefe did not get hit by a car. I love you so much, Kim. You're so my friend type. Well, Hank's Trapper Keeper, I'm going to the event on May 1st. I'm going to wear my Nurse Kim pearls. And you're my best friend from out of town. So that makes sense, right? I'm so excited. I can't wait to see people, our North Shore sisters and brothers, potentially. And Cammie said, Kim, did you see Karen's Lexus model? Oh, has a reverse speed limit. Wait, one more time, Cammie. Sorry for my, I have astigmatism, not autism. Stop. Maybe a touch of that too. Kim, did you see Karen's Lexus model has a reverse speed limit sensor? No, babe, I didn't see that. Where's that noted? But that makes sense. And loveys, if we could all just emotionally look within and say, never have I ever been able to get my vehicle in reverse, and especially if you have an SUV, babes, if you've got or a minivan, right? Any large vehicle over 6,000 pounds. Have you ever been able to go more than 10 miles an hour without thinking that you were actually on the edge of reason, feeling like Thelma and Louise? I'm not trying to risk it all for the biscuit. I don't know what we're doing. Okay? I'm not a ride or die. I'm a ride and why, Like, what are we doing here? Not really sure. I'd like to stay, I have questions. And it is unfathomable to me that people could think that Karen would go in an absolute straight line, get up to 24.2 miles an hour, not even gunning it. Babes, that's the best part. She didn't even pedal to the metal. She didn't hit it at 100%. She tapped that bitch up to 74%. and magically got her 7,000-pound vehicle up to 24.2 miles per hour in reverse in less than 5 seconds. Duh. Okay, she's a fucking magician. Doesn't make sense. Never will. Didn't happen. No collision. Punch a proctor. You know, what are we doing? But I will look that up, Lovey. Thank you. Oh, and Mary Malaki, first of her name, says, Nurse Kim, use the JLK keys. J is to rewind. I'm sorry, I'm writing this down. Brilliance. J is to rewind. J on the keyboard. Rewind. Then we have an L. Nope, a K is to pause. And L is to fast forward. And is this for the YouTubes? Well, Mary Malaki, thank you, mother. Thank you for always helping me in life. I love you. Love you, babes. Have the best night. Thank you for recapping with me. We've made it through day 1 of 2.0. May the force be with you and also with you. I love each of you. We've got this. I have faith. We have each other. And tomorrow brings another day. I will be back on for another recap. And until then, thank you for answering my FaceTime. Love you, babes. Bye.